So you're going to tell us your name and your organization.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chidima Prochuk. I'm from Bond FM.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tunde Suleiman. I'm an editor from Security Monitor.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Asomta Khalil. I work for Susan's Unique Voices Foundation. I'm the program officer.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Awijoye Wande Elizabeth. I'm representing Susan Unique Voices Foundation. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Fabian Ekeruche is my name. I represent the News Agency of Nigeria.
Good morning. My name is Ali Adeshino, cameraman from AIT.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Ebigie, energy correspondent at AIT.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheri Taiwo Kutuasha, I report for Daily Independent Newspapers.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Grace. I work with Women Radio.
Today I come. I teach journalism at Lagos State University. Mola Raju Suraj. I work for HEDA Resource Center.
Good morning, all. My name is Olabisi Shodibare. I'm a director at Lagos State Environment in Wasepa. I'm a regulator of the environment of Lagos, and I represent the general manager here today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Choma Oloru. I work for Center for Gender Economics in Africa. Thank you.
Morning, house. My name is Sheikh Mwabi Fwani. News from Nigeria.
Good morning. I am Professor Dayo Ayiwademenai, University of Lagos, the book review.
Good morning, all. My name is Chukura Alexander FSI. I'm a resident anti-corruption commissioner of the ICPC in Lagos. I'm here to represent my honorable chairman. Thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Dr. Mrs. Barry, ICPC Lagos.
Thank you, everyone. And yes, please give. Yeah.
Everyone, good morning. My name is Mayo Shubo. I work in the Environmental Justice and Sustainable Development Unit of HEDA Resource Center.
All right, thank you, Mayo. From everyone introducing themselves, would realize that they are diverse people from different sectors, especially sectors that are important to this gathering and the subject of today's gathering. So I wish to, on behalf of the chairman, HEDA Resource Center, Mr. Olarewaju Suraj, who claims he works with HEDA Resource Center. Yeah. I wish to welcome each and every one of us. And I'd appreciate if those at the back can fill up the space in front. As everyone is aware, we do not have a high table. So everyone is on the high table. Wherever you are seated, you are on the high table. So we are all level. So please, those at the back, you kindly move forward, please. We are waiting. Yeah, it's important. So we'll know the latecomers. Thank you so much. So the next on the agenda is the national anthem. Yes, so I'll call on everyone to please be on feet while Who would volunteer to lead us? Yes, of course, it's going to be played at the background, but if anyone would volunteer to lead, if not, we'll just allow the speaker lead us. Okay, please. I think that's the prayer part. Please let's continue that part and then yes. Thank you very much. We may have our seats, please. Okay. So next on our agenda is to hear from the chairman, HEDA Resource Center, Mr. Olanwaju Suraju, why he gathered each and every one of us here. So with a round of applause, I want to invite the chairman, HEDA Resource Center, Mr. Olanwaju Suraju, to deliver the welcome address. With a round of applause, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of HEDA Resource Center, even though the last one that just spoke wanted to or attempted to query the legitimacy of my working for HEDA, well, have also been invited to come and welcome you. So at least that confirms that I was right by saying I work for HEDA Resource Center. And I know that I still get paid also a salary by HEDA Resource Center. But I wish to say thank you very much for honoring our invitation to be part of this very interesting, for us, highly important matter that bothers on not just the economy of Nigeria, which also by extension goes to how well the country is able to cater for its people. It also deals with our environment as well, as a people, as a community, and then also as a nation. We've had reason at HEDA Resource Center for over 20 years engage ourselves in activities that will improve the status and standard of our people, which is the hard to reach many of the times. It is not just to do the normal thing within the society, but more importantly, to try and do things differently and ensure that we get human rights, promotion and protection, environmental justice to the people, and also work with the government to enhance accountability, transparency, and good governance for the ultimate benefit of the people. So on this particular event that we are gathered here today to deal with, it is primarily for us to showcase some of those experiences, and that is why we've had diverse representatives from different organizations. Thank you very much the resident commissioner for ICPC being in the room, the director and representative of LASEPA, the GM for LASEPA. Thank you for also being around. I know that the director of ICPC is also here, and Nate will be joining us pretty soon. I really wouldn't be sure yet if NUPRC is also coming around or otherwise, but we want to see how the relevant agencies, now regulatory and law enforcement, are working together to advance our environment. And LASEPA, we would want to see how Lagos has always been like beacon for quite a number of other organizations, other states. Lagos wants to always lead. We want to see how you also do your working together at the sub-national level, so that because we are closer to the people when it comes to this issue or about environment and social infrastructures and issues, and it would be important for you to connect some of those issues that will bother on some kind of infraction and connect them to the law enforcement agencies. So if our regulations and regulatory activities are not connected with those who are able to also assist in providing sanctions for the infractions that are committed by actors and players in that constituencies, then it will be very difficult for us to have a same situation. And that is why Nigeria is, sorry, the Niger Delta of Nigeria is touted across the world now as one of the most polluted areas in the world. And that is not because it is designed or meant to be like that or to be so, but because there is a weak enforcement. Sometimes we can blame the law, but not all the time. If we're able to enforce the ones that we currently have effectively, we won't have such a situation that we currently operate under. So it is for us at HEDA Resource Center that we want to challenge everybody. The same thing goes to our friends in the media. We really need to assist the government agencies where we can assist in promoting their activities, and at the same time we need to also engage and challenge them to deliver on their mandates. It's important that this is sustained anytime. I remember we were having, I was part of the Bayelsa State Commission that actually investigated the whole pollution in Bayelsa State, or the operation of the oil companies in the state. And at one of the presentations, one of the representatives of the government agencies came and was giving brilliant, report of what they're doing and all the rest of that. And my simple question is, it's a complete different ballgame saying you've done this. The only assessment people have of you is the results, is what we can see. You can't say you're the one in charge of protecting the environment, and the environment is totally so polluted, and you're sitting somewhere and giving yourself pass mark. I mean, it would also be challenging for Nigeria to be having not about perception, but real level of corruption going on everywhere, and we see every day. And possibly ICPC would come and say, we're actually performing exceedingly excellently well, but we can still see corruption going on. So it is about what the people will feel and what people will say and what people are expecting of us. And it is not about what we do, because we might actually be doing our best, which is actually insufficient for the situation that we operate in. So on behalf of HEDA Resource Center, because before I'm accused of talking too much, I welcome you and I look forward to a fruitful conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the brief welcome address and introduction. I just want to bring to everyone's attention that HEDA Resource Center has actually done a lot of work around issues of divestment, environmental pollution, particularly in the Delta area. Last year, 2024, HEDA undertook two important research. One was in Bayelsa State, whereby we looked at on-spot assessment of oil and gas exploration activity. And then we also did a second one, a leadership approval rating, which is to get the perception of the people that actually live in the Niger Delta on how the host community, the relationship between the host communities and the oil and gas company on the one hand, and then how the oil and gas company are actually taking care of irrigating the environment. These two reports are currently here. This is the leadership approval meeting. Impact of oil and gas exploration activities in 6 oil producing states in Nigeria. And while this is a report of the spot assessment, I encourage each and every one of us to look at the report to have a fair idea of how the people of the Niger Delta are feeling. So when they come out and they talk and they voice out and they shout and they do all of the things concerning their state of environment, we would have an understanding of where they are coming from. Once again, I wish to welcome each and every one of us. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to make some few announcements, please. I'd encourage every one of us to please be vigilant and keep our property safe. This is a public space, and no one is watching over your property, so please keep them safe. Secondly, the restroom is just behind the hall. That door is strong. Strong. Secondly, I'm sure everyone loves this tag, right? Yeah, it's for security purposes. So that I would know that those are here for HEDA event. So basically, when you're going to say after the event, you do not go on the day. Yes, we get that property. So please, when you're leaving, please drop it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so those are the feedback. So I was inviting some important individuals, government regulatory agencies and authority present here, for them to also deliver their goodwill remarks. And of course, I want to start with the law enforcement agency in our midst, that's the ICPC. So please, with a round of applause, I want us to welcome Mr. Alexander, the Lagos State Resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner representing the ICPC, Dr. Musa Adam, FAA. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an uncommon privilege for me to be here today to represent my everyday boss, who confidentially would have been here, not be here because of some sensitive national assignments. On behalf of the ICPC management and staff, and we should say sorry for all that. But we're here today to share our thoughts with you. For us in ICT, the quality that responsibility on our side to only romance agencies and bodies that are ready and willing to collaborate with us. You all know for certain. And the fight against corruption is not a one-man show. We are doing our best possible in ICPC, but what is not good enough because we have all refused to take ownership of the fight against corruption. The ICPC are not doing it alone. And accepting we take that collective action for us to own this whole anti-that because of the topical issue here is quite interesting. I'm from the Niger Delta from Nigeria. Yes. But when we talk about the issue of
extractive industry in Nigeria, it's a common knowledge that the whole process is shrouded in a lot of opaque system. And the system that does not transparent cannot be accountable. And if it's not going to be accountable, it will be fraught with a lot of corruption. It is true, like the lead worker of HEDA that SCP can come to place to come and begin to promote what we've not done. That's not what we do in ICP. That's not our calling. We believe in responsible execution of our activities. So for me to say that, yes, Nigeria is one of the most blessed countries in the world. Why are we here? We are here because we are all collectively refused or failed with our responsibility. Remember that it's a statutory duty for every citizen to report every corrupt practice to the nearest relevant authority. If we have not done that, we won't go there as remember that the statutory sector of economy. It's a focus on macro Nigeria. You can't sow rice and reap beans. A system that promotes, protects, and professes stealing where thieves are made thieves. You cannot get the best out of it. So, on behalf of my chairman, let me not bore you with unnecessary tourist spots. In the course of what I'm called upon again, but I can tell you that the cornerstone, what is responsible for Nigeria's state, that's the state of the nation of Nigeria, is essentially corruption. And that has made the dream of Nigeria to become a civilized nation or a politically stable polity in Iraq. So, on behalf of my chairman, I want to call on all of you to truly share with us just today with a view to achieving a better Nigeria. Thank you so very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for the brief remark. Another announcement before I call on the second person. Please, you'll see that on the agenda there is a barcode. Yes, please kindly scan the barcode to register your attendance. Yes, for the media, you have the attendance list, but for guests, scan the barcode to register your attendance. Thank you. Yes, if you need the agenda, when that's okay, if you need help with the scanning of the barcode, you can meet them at the secretariat. They will gladly assist. Okay. So on that note, I would want to invite Mrs. Shunibale Olabisi, representing the GM of LASEPA, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, to deliver a brief remark.
Good morning, and I want to heartily congratulate the organizers of today's program, as I bring greetings from my general manager, Dr. Babasude Ajayi, who incidentally is somewhere else at the moment as I speak, on another state function. So LASEPA is the government regulatory organ for monitoring of the environment of Lagos, and we are glad to be here to partner with them on this subject matter. So what we do in Lagos State, particularly, we ensure compliance to environmental laws, regulations, guidelines, and standards. And what we see happening in Delta is not, we are not happy, nobody's happy about it. So we are hoping that it doesn't happen elsewhere apart from Lagos. So what we do basically, we try to strengthen our regulations, and we all know our head office is located at Ikeja. But the last 3-4 years, we've been able to spread, to have zonal offices across the state. So currently we have like 21, so that we can be very close to the grassroots. So that we try as much as possible for somebody like me, we try to be as proactive as possible, so that we are not reactive to issues, but we try to prevent as much as possible. So I would want to say that speak towards our regulations, our laws. At the moment, we are trying to improve on what we have, and if it applies to all. So let's ensure that we have a working law, and the regulation is there, and the enforcement unit is on top of the game. So what we have is to prevent as much as possible. If we are able to prevent some of these things, we won't have too many issues we have all over. You agree with me that the environment has a very high correlation with health indices. If the environment we live in is very poor, definitely you have consequence will be on the health of the area. So we try as much as possible to prevent issues from happening. And if they do happen, at times you can't prevent some of these things, but when they do happen, we are there quickly to surmount the issue. That's why we are spread all over the state. We have as zonal offices as far as Adagri, Ikorodu, 5 divisions, so we have them everywhere. So I want to encourage and charge people, particularly the CSOs, civil society organizations, the NGOs. We need you, and the government needs you to put them on track, and the press as well.
So some of these things, when you see these things, you report as quickly as possible. And we are also working with some organizations that have like an app. Some complaints you can report like that online, and immediately it comes through. We are out there immediately. So we need the press, the like I said, the CSOs. By the time we speak, we continue to speak more on this thing, we'll be surprised at the impact we are making. Like we can't be everywhere, like we're always encouraged, but let us know what is happening. We have a very working, our website is very interactive. Every complaint gets there and somebody is there within 24 hours because we have officers all over. So I want to encourage and congratulate HEDA for doing this, putting this up. And we are hoping that by the end of the day, we'll be able to rub minds more and be able to exchange ideas. Thank you very much and have a very good day.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sholibare Olabisi. Thank you so much for the updates on the good work LASEPA has been doing to protect our environment here in Lagos. I was surfing the internet and I saw that Lagos State is also so Lagos State can be categorized as one of the states with oil and like an oil producing state. So Mrs. Sholibare, I don't know, is that correct? Lagos State is an oil producing state, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I just want to interrogate you a bit further. Personally, I do not know where the oil is actually situated here in Lagos. But if you can enlighten us a bit of where and how the state of the environment is over there. I am sorry if I put you on the spot now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have currently we have one at Ibejuleki, that's where we are now at the moment. And as I speak, at the time they were coming in, the relevant stakeholders came together with Mr. Governor going there first to assess the place. And we went in. The purpose of going is to do a baseline study. We want to be sure of what the situation is on ground before they commence operations, so that we can monitor progress and monitor impact. We don't want a situation where there will be pollution. That was why I said in my earlier speech that we try as much as possible to be proactive in all of this. So we've been there and we are currently still working there. We have some MDAs that have come together. I was part of the team that went, I can't remember what year that was. We went at the onset of all of this. What were we to do? We tried to engage the communities, the stakeholders, and try and commence a baseline study of that environment so that we can have a document to work with. So if there's to monitor the progress of the activities, if there's going to be any impact, we can able to name it in the board as quickly as possible. So they are there now, and then the government of Lagos State is on top of the situation to ensure they comply with all environmental laws of the state. Would that be fine?
Yes, thank you. Let me give it to her. Yeah, this 2 minutes. So, everything. All right, thank you so much for that update. Yes, I normally tell people you won't come to HEDA's event and just leave empty-handed. Yes, you will get something. Yes, thank you so much, Ma. And while Mr. Sholibare was delivering a goodwill remark, the executive chairman of HEDA Resource Center walked in. So I'd like to, the executive secretary, apologies, sir. Executive Secretary of HEDA Resource Center walked in. So everyone please meet Mr. Aribabu Sulaiman, the Executive Secretary, HEDA Resource Center, and also the Project Coordinator, Environmental Justice and Sustainable Development Department. Yes, so if you are interested in environment, sustainable energy, climate change, please speak with him. Thank you so much, sir. I also want to use this opportunity to also welcome Engineer Nkechi Isigwe. She's a member representing women and vulnerable groups on NAITI board, National Stakeholders Group Working Group. Yes, so please, you're welcome, ma'am. And I'd also want to invite her to come and deliver the Executive Secretary of NAITI, Dr. Oji Ogbonaya Oji's goodwill remark. Please, with a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Let me stand on the existing protocol. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, our esteemed hosts, invited dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor to stand before you today as a special guest of honor at this very important event. The public presentation of the publication titled Marginal Fields Awards, Regulators, Independence, and Environmental Injustice, Paradox of Beneficial Ownership, and the Host Community. I wish to commend HEDA and all the collaborating partners for their unwavering commitment to fostering transparency, accountability, and justice within Nigeria's oil and gas sector. This publication, which follows the earlier work titled Spotlighting the Oil and Gas, a review of the 2020-2021 Marginal Fields Bid licensing round in Nigeria, serves as a crucial milestone in our shared mission to address systemic gaps in governance and beneficial ownership transparency. The earlier report highlighted a significant but complex development. All beneficiaries of the 2020-2021 Marginal Field Bid licensing round are indigenous companies. While NITE recognizes this as an encouraging sign of growing indigenous capacity in the upstream oil and gas sector, we also acknowledge the responsibilities this development imposes. It calls for heightened scrutiny, transparency, and accountability in demands an unwavering commitment to ensuring that processes are open, competitive, and fair. NITE has actively engaged with the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, to provide these principles. We appreciate NUPRC's invitation to NITE to monitor the process, and we have responded with enthusiasm and dedication. However, our role does not stop at mere observation. We must ensure that this process aligns with international best practices of transparency, accountability, and integrity. For 90, beneficial ownership transparency is not just about knowing who owns what. It is about protecting our nation's resources from corruption, illicit financial flows, and mismanagement. It is about safeguarding the rights of our host communities, ensuring that the benefits of resource extraction reach the people who deserve them the most. We are making progress. Our recent industry reports in the oil, gas, and mining sectors are up to date and have continued to shape public debate and inform government policies. 90 has also been instrumental in advocating for the implementation of beneficial ownership disclosure through the establishment of the Beneficial Ownership Register. This register has proven to be a vital tool in unmasking the real owners behind companies operating in Nigeria's extractive sector. However, we must do more. As we intensify our efforts, we must also confront the harsh realities faced by host communities. Environmental degradation, pollution, and social injustice remain constant threats to the well-being of communities whose lands bear the brunt of extractive activities. Transparency alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by social and environmental justice. Host communities must be protected, compensated, and empowered to benefit meaningfully from the resources extracted from their land. Anything less will be a betrayal of their rights and dignity. Today's publication shines a spotlight on the critical issues of beneficial ownership, regulatory independence, and environmental justice. It is a timely intervention that should inspire us all to strengthen our resolve to confront corruption, promote accountability, and build a more equitable extractive sector. I am particularly pleased that the distinguished Professor Oludayo Amokaye-San will be delivering the keynote address today. His expertise and passion for justice will no doubt provide deeper insights into the issues before us. As we proceed with today's event, I urge everyone here to reflect deeply on the findings of this publication. Let us work together to turn these revelations into action that will bring about the change we all seek. On behalf of 90, I wish to reaffirm our commitment to supporting all efforts aimed at ensuring that the extractive sector in Nigeria remains a force for good. We will continue to advocate, monitor, and engage constructively to ensure that transparency and accountability are entrenched in every aspect of the sector's operation. I commend our host, HEDA, for their dedication and visionary leadership in promoting transparency, accountability, and justice. NITE will continue to stand with you shoulder to shoulder as we pursue these noble goals. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a successful and fruitful event. The voice is mine, but the text is from the Executive Secretary of NITE. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Ma, for reading the speech of the Executive Secretary of NITE, Dr. Oji Ogunaya Oji. Thank you so much, Ma. And okay, I would like to recognize the presence of, I don't know, the Lagos State Commandant or his representative of the NSCDC. Yes, sir, you're welcome, sir. Please, can you quickly come and give us your quick goodwill message? I'm sorry, so that we can go into the substance of today's gathering. Apologies, I didn't even allow you to sit, sir. Yes, thank you so much, sir.
I want to greet everybody here and permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I just want to appreciate the organizer of this program. It's a very good one, and there's no doubt that at the end of the day, we're going to have a meaningful participation in which the future is going to be a betterment for us, not only for us, but for Nigeria. And we encourage the organizer to continue, which maybe next year, not even maybe, I believe next year will be better than this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for the well short and precise speech. I'd also want to recognize all media executive present here. I thank you for honoring your invitation. And without further ado, I would want to invite, but before I invite him, I would like to read a summary of his portfolio here with me. So I'd like to read that of Professor Dayo Ayoade, PhD, MA, our book reviewer for today. Dayo Ayoade has a professional career of over 30 years that spans Nigeria and the United Kingdom. A professor of energy, oil, natural gas, electricity, energy transitions, extractive and governance law at the University of Lagos. Honorary Professor, Center for Energy, Petroleum and Mineral Law and Policy, University of Dundee, and lead partner, Bonum Societies, Attorneys and Solicitors, BSAS, Nigeria. His experience, which combines practice, academia, and consulting, is multidisciplinary and spans the legal, regulatory, commercial, and contractual arena. This expertise focuses on the fields of energy, extractives, maritime, governance to anti-corruption, dispute resolution, and business law. In line with time, he has advised and collaborated with international agencies, governments, companies, and NGOs on a wide range of issues. Dayo Ayoade was educated at the Edinburgh Academy, Scotland, UK, and obtained his LLB honours degree from the University of East Anglia, Norwich, UK. He also holds an LLM Maritime, University of Wales, Cardiff, LLM Resources, Oil and Gas, and PhD Energy Law and Economics from the Center for Energy, Petroleum and Mineral Law and Policy, University of Dundee, Scotland, United Kingdom. Professor Ayade is a member of organizations such as the Nigerian Bar Association, International Bar Association, Association of International Energy Negotiators, and the highly prestigious Alumni Association of the National Institute, Nigeria's lead policy and leadership senior executive course. And to also add, he was my lecturer at the LLB and LLM level. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby invite our book reviewer, Professor Dayo Adi. Please, a round of applause.
Thank you very much, David. Good morning, everyone. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. My thanks to HEDA and to this distinguished audience for allowing me to speak to you. I'm here to give a book review, but at the same time, I think what I'll do is that I would read from the prepared statement and give some comments as well. So you don't get bored with my voice or fall asleep. The book, titled Marginal Fields Awards, Regulators' Independence and Environmental Justice, Paradox of Beneficial Ownership and the Host Communities. The author of the book will be Human and Environmental Development Agenda, that's HEDA. The publisher is HEDA Resource Center, February 2025. And the genre of this book is Law and Policy. I was quite interested when I was approached to look at the book because the field of energy law, field of petroleum law, always requires academic and other material because we are in a key industry on which the entire development of this country rests. The hopes and aspirations of this country rest on one industry. So any organization or anyone writing books, writing articles, contributing to the literature is always very welcome. And this work is in the field of governance. I'm glad Naiti is here. Governance is key to how this country will progress. And if we can get governance right in oil and gas, I think we will solve most of our problems. On to the review. Although petroleum exploration in Nigeria commenced in 1903 under licenses issued by British colonial administrators, commercial oil quantities were not discovered until 1956 at Oloibiri in Bayelsa State. So almost 70 years of exploration and development of crude oil and natural gas has placed the sector firmly at the center of national discourse on socioeconomic and political governance due to its impact on Nigerians and national development. This publication, according to its authors, is based on investigative reporting conducted by a team of skilled journalists assigned to examine two key focus areas. Mr. Felix Osayosemi and Mr. Nuruddin Akewushola investigated the beneficial ownership of assets, corruption risk in awarding the 2020 to 2021 marginal field licenses, and the activities of successful bidders in field exploration. Meanwhile, Ms. Elfreda Kevin Aderechi and Mr. Sunday Ilom focused on the investigation of divestment, decommissioning, and abandonment issues, and the broader impact of exploration on local communities. So you can see that these reports underpin the book, and that's why the title is so widespread, because we are trying to put together, merge two different areas in oil and gas. This short book is clearly written, so it's accessible and should be easily accessible to a wide audience, including journalists, civil society, lawyers, judges, oil and gas practitioners, and the general public. The work uses academic and professional literature to illustrate its arguments, which are enhanced by a mixed methodology approach that involves document reviews, interviews, and data analysis. This allows engagement, basically, with the current legal and regulatory framework, corruption case studies, inclusive evaluation of host communities, as well as the provision of recommended mitigation strategies to correct current problems. The layout of the book is concise. It is divided into 2 sections and 8 parts that cover the earlier investigative reports that I just mentioned. Section 1 covers 5 parts that considers the 2020 to 2021 marginal fields bid, beneficial owners of marginal fields, observations on beneficial ownership, shades of corruption and corruption implications for corporate integrity and revenue optimization. Meanwhile, Section 2 deals with the impact on communities of divestment, decommissioning, and abandonment, progress on and challenges of environmental remediation, and host community narratives on environmental devastation. In addition, the text is supported by a table on beneficial owner information and brief references. So basically what the work is trying to do is in line with the important tasks that NAITI has been doing for the nation for quite a while now. The fact that we've had new legislation in the form of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, a piece of law, by the way, that took almost 2 decades to enact, retarding the progress of the country, but at last we now have it. So the biggest concern now is to ensure that this law, this very important law, is being implemented. And NAITI has a big role to play. I'm glad to hear the representative from NAITI talking about the observer role with NUPRC. But of course, it goes more beyond that because NAITI is an independent agency, and NAITI is coming from the EITI, which is an international body that promotes transparency and accountability in the extractive sector. Now, if you look at the first part of Section A, beneficial ownership and corruption in the 2020 to 2021 Marginal Fields Award, 4 objectives of the investigative process are clearly stated. 1, identify beneficial owners and examine the status of companies that successfully bid for marginal fields. 2, assess transparency compliance of the bid process with regards to beneficial ownership disclosure. 3, investigate the potential corruption practices in the award process and liability of successful bidders. And 4, recommend appropriate mitigation strategies to enhance transparency and accountability in future bidding rounds. Essentially, the book considers the intersection between beneficial ownership and corruption in the oil sector through the lens of the 2020-2021 marginal fields plan. So you can see that the specific focus is not talking generally about marginal fields, it's talking only about this marginal field round that took place in 2020 to 21. And according to what we find is that while marginal fields programs have been in place since 2001, the 2020-2021 marginal fields bidding round exhibited, according to the authors, I'm not the author, procedural abuse. I'm a lawyer, I have to protect myself, and also I'm a teacher. I can't afford the liabilities that HEDA can. Exhibited procedural abuse and corrupt practices with significant financial losses to the nation. Now, what we find is that marginal fields have been in existence for 20 years, and yet we're still struggling with governance. We're still struggling with getting it right. We're still struggling with obeying rules and regulations. And that's a very important point made by this book. The intention behind the marginal fields program was to ensure new investments into underutilized petroleum assets and also enable indigenous oil companies to participate in this expensive and highly technical upstream oil and gas sector. As the native speaker spoke earlier on, that the participants in the marginal fields are all indigenous companies. So Nigerians are playing a bigger role in the upstream oil and gas sector. Now, underpinning all this is an extensive legal and regulatory regime that includes the Petroleum Act 1969, now overtaken by the Petroleum Industry Act 2001. We still have the Oil Pipelines Act, and we have the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, Marginal Fields Bid Guidelines 2020, and so forth. Although the marginal field bidding rounds 2020 to 2021 started in 2020, the Petroleum Industry Act was enacted in 2021. The new law replaced the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, with the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, as the technical and commercial regulator for the upstream sector. The NUPRC was given substantial powers to transform the upstream sector into a more transparent and accountable environment. Unfortunately, as the book points out, companies with limited financial and technical capacity won bids due to political influence and corrupt manipulation. The allegation is that some of the winning companies were owned or backed by politically exposed persons. This unpredictable regulatory environment basically shows Nigeria to be a rentier state where cronies are advantaged over meritorious entities. And this clearly is a big problem. So why is beneficial ownership important? Transparency about beneficial ownership in oil license bidding prevents wrongdoers or politically exposed persons from hiding the true controllers. So if you know the owners, the true owners of a company, you know where the money goes, and there will be no dispute about it. And we find that the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative 80 Standard 2019 and the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, have been requiring companies to disclose their true owners. However, as the book points out, the 2020 to 2021 bidding process showcased winning companies that did not disclose beneficial owners. Out of 35 companies, 18 did not disclose any information about ownership, which seemingly supports media allegations of corrupt relationships between state officials and some bid winners. I didn't say all bid winners, I said some bid winners. This situation poses its risk to the Nigerian oil sector, making it vulnerable to tax evasion, money laundering, and other financial crimes. Furthermore, the authors reveal that 11 out of the 35 companies surveyed were registered as inactive with the Corporate Affairs Commission. That's another huge problem. An inactive company winning a bid in the oil industry. Under Section 16.8D of the Public Procurement Act 2007, companies must fulfill their tax obligations, pension payments, and other required contributions to be eligible to bid for contracts. Similarly, the book points out that companies like HEDA Energy Limited, Deep Offshore Integrated Service Limited, and Shafa Exploration and Production Company Limited had not been registered with the CAC for up to 3 years prior to 2nd June 2022. Sorry, 2nd June 2020. So basically, these companies therefore did not possess the tax clearance certificate required for a legitimate bid. In addition, there are a company where beneficial owners were non-Nigerians that were ineligible were also found to have won. Sadly, the book did not mention or evaluate the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2020 on this important point. So, as an academic reviewer, you know, we'll get what is good about something and tell you where things can be improved. Section B deals with issues of divestment, decommissioning, and abandonment, and the impacts of exploration on the host communities. The objectives concerning or governing this section are stated as follows. One, examine and analyze the potential threats of abandonment constituted by divestment and decommissioning of assets by IOCs. Two, explore the prevailing impacts of devastation caused by activities of oil companies and the potential threats of abandonment in the host communities of the Niger Delta as a consequence of divestment and decommissioning. Three, document the concerns and expectations of local stakeholders impacted by environmental devastation with regard to the prevailing concerns and their expectations. And fourth, document the progress and challenges of remediation activities where interventions are ongoing. Now, when you're talking about decommissioning, interestingly enough, I'm actually a leading figure in decommissioning, offshore decommissioning, because my PhD is actually on this area. And I don't remember dear Mr. Suraj calling me to ask me any questions about this interesting area. So I'll remove 1 point for this. Moving on, the book basically looks at Shell's decision to sell its onshore Nigerian subsidiary, Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, to Renaissance Africa Energy Company, basically a company that was a consortium of Nigerian and international oil companies for $1.3 billion. Now, this divestment rightly caused concern due to historic and ongoing oil spills and pollution in the Niger Delta. However, divestment is a legitimate corporate strategy as the Nigerian government approved the deal, as well as other international oil company divestments by ExxonMobil and Equinor. It would have been interesting if the book was able to establish more cogent reasons why divestment should not have been granted and whether or not sufficient provision has been made in the regulatory framework to secure the present and future interest of host communities. The authors rightly identified decommissioning and abandonment obligations as a future problem. So basically, when oil and gas resources end and we're finished producing the oil and gas in the ground, what happens to the infrastructure? What happens to the pipelines? What happens to the rigs? What do you do with it? It's a very important issue. You can't walk away from it. You're supposed to restore the environment as close to how it was before you started oil and gas operations. That's basically what decommissioning and abandonment is all about. So the authors are right on this point. And these issues of decommissioning and abandonment is covered by the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 that requires oil companies to remove disused oil equipment at the end of field life. Furthermore, the PIA, that's the Petroleum Industry Act, provides host community development trust funds, that's HCDT trust funds, that requires oil companies to contribute 3% of their annual operating expenditure to the HCDT. These funds are to provide for the socio-economic development of host communities, build infrastructure, support education, healthcare, and so forth. The issue of how we take care of our host community has been a tragedy for our nation. And this attempt, very interesting and innovative attempt in the Petroleum Industry Act, was to try and secure money that goes directly to the communities. And that's why this trust fund is very, very important. Again, the book rightly explores the gap between law and practice by showing that extensive decommissioning obligations even remain at Oloibiri, even though oil production ceased decades ago. So where we found oil, we have not done the decommissioning till today. And to the best of my recollection, we had finished extracting oil in Oloibiri in the 1970s or so. So till today, we've not cleaned up the environment and returned it to how it should be, showing the importance of this book. Now, this is an indictment of the effectiveness of the regulatory regime. The federal government and its agencies, such as the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSDRA, and the DPR, then now NUPRC. Failure to implement anti-pollution laws, coupled with divestment to less established oil companies, means there's a genuine fear that the international oil companies have been allowed to safeguard their own reputations at the expense of our host communities. For almost 70 years, these communities have seen the destruction of their livelihood because they are farmers and fishermen. They have some of the best food in this country. Those of you who live in the South can attest to that. Environmental degradation, human rights abuse. We all know what happened to Ken Saro-Wiwa, and oil criminality. According to the NUPRC, oil theft cost the nation $3.27 billion between January 2021 and February 2022, just 1 year. At the same time, the Environmental Remediation Fund that is supposed to help clean up the environment has been rendered ineffective due to mismanagement, according to the book. There are also emerging concerns that the newly established host community development trust funds are not paying out funds efficiently or effectively. This has to serve as an important wake-up call for all oil and gas stakeholders. Additionally, the book highlights ongoing pollution issues despite some progress being made. Communities such as those in Ogoni land seem to have little confidence in the Nigerian government. Indeed, instead they direct their efforts towards holding international oil companies accountable in their home countries and engaging in global climate justice initiatives. The environmental restoration of affected host communities remains a significant challenge, worsened by government neglect, poverty, and pipeline vandalization. The authors deserve recognition for their thorough fieldwork in documenting this issue. Finally, this book review has highlighted the key features of this publication rather than serving as a textbook. This study should be regarded as specialized research that sheds light on specific aspects of energy governance. Its primary contribution lies in its focus on the practical realities of the oil sector rather than an in-depth analysis of legal statutes and policy documents. Although the book offers a limited number of recommendations, they are well-founded and provide a clear pathway forward for addressing governance challenges. Overall, this reviewer believes the book successfully achieves its objectives and should be considered essential reading for stakeholders in the oil and gas industry. Thank you, distinguished audience, for your kind attention. My thanks again to HEDA and sponsors of the reports on which the book is based, Africa Center for Energy Policy, Ghana. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And on this note, I would want to bring back the chairman, HEDA Resource Center, Mr. Onlarewaju Suraju, to open the floor for the public presentation of this publication. Mr. Suraj, chairman, sir.
Thank you very much. I would take the opportunity to say thank you for our invited guests for all the comments, and also once again thank Professor Ayoade for that professorial presentation of the review of that publication. Thank you very much. I remember one of the onerous tasks well, Professor Ayade might try to, in a way, just underestimate his capacity to withstand challenges or whatever. But I remember that you were one of those remarkable, very young lawyer who actually stood up in support of Nigeria or spoke in support of Nigeria in the case that Nigeria actually dragged for more than 10 years on the OPL 245, the Malabo case. He actually testified in support of Nigeria's presentation before the Milan Court. Please give him another round of applause. For us at HEDA Resource Center, we would continue to provide this kind of platform and forum to interact like this, and we would want to see how we take it beyond the four walls of the rooms, where we can have the academia working seriously to support the anti-corruption agencies, and at the same time working with the regulatory agencies and seeing how the knowledge that you gather from across the world would be very useful and impactful in the operations of what they're doing. And that we saw when we're working on the OPL 245, because it gave us that opportunity to have, this level of interaction. So please let us not just leave it to the meet and greet here. Some of the things that I imagine from the publication that we're publicly presenting today is to see how we can take some of those things and bring them down to action. So NAITI has a role to play. I'm happy we now have the CAC in the room. It is extremely important, and that is where I also agree with the ICPC resident commissioner that if there is no how did you put it? Sorry, I missed it. If there's no transparency, there cannot be accountability. So if there's also no consultation, there can be accountability. So it is important that we make sure that people are held accountable. And if we are having companies that are not registered with the CAC in Nigeria, have not met the minimum standard, but are getting contracts, and you're not just talking about millions of naira worth of contract, you're talking about billions of naira worth of contract. It is now already like a tradition. And that also goes to show and expose how limited our government agencies are in working together, because otherwise should have been the first thing to have been done by either NUPRC or any other agency, to have verified all those information with the Corporate Affairs Commission, even before they are allowed to go to the next stage of screening. And on establishing some of those trends, nothing stops them from forwarding that level of information also to the ICPC to investigate what has been happening with many of these cases. And that is the way we can have, corruption stamped out of our life. So it's on that note that as the worker for HEDA again, I have been assigned to invite, the guest, the representative of NSCDC, the representative of the Corporate Affairs Commission, the representative of the NAITI ES and NAITI, the resident commissioner of ICPC, Professor Ayoade, Ms. Asumba, am I correct? Yeah. Mr. Suraj, did you hear that? Is it in the hall? Okay. Mr. Aribabu, Mr. Felix John, and Mr. Sunday Elop to also join us in the public presentation of the publication. Thank you very much. I didn't invite you. It was Heather that said I should mention this. Madam Lasepa. Yeah.
Oh, so yes. So I think the ICPC and then supported with engineer Ikechi of the Naiti would yes, with the support of Ms. Tonye, yes, of CSC. Yes.
On behalf of HEDA Resource Center, we officially unveil the publication that is being publicly presented today. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. No, you can go with the copy.
You can go with this one.
Yes, so for organizations here, we'll give you extra, at least 10 copies for your organization. Oh, so we thank each and every one of you. So I want to recognize the representative of the CAC executive and DG. You are correct. Yes, Mrs. Tonye, Mrs. Tosan, apologies. Ms. Tosan Mabuyaku, the deputy director of the CAC. Please a round of applause for her. And she come here to tell us what the CAC have been doing on beneficial ownership.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tosa Mabuyaku. I head the Corporate Affairs Commission office here in Lagos. I bring you warm greetings from the Registrar General, Alhaji Ishiak Magaji. I spoke with him about 30 minutes ago, and he expressed delight, at a gathering such as this, particularly because of the central theme, which borders on the issue of beneficial ownership. Now, the CAC, like we already know, is the company's registry. We register and regulate companies here in Nigeria. And after the new act, the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 came into force, there was now an established legal framework to report the beneficial owners of corporations in Nigeria. And in the first quarter of 2022, the Commission had come up with what we call the Persons with Significant Control Register or Registry Regulation. And we launched our Beneficial Ownership Register in Nigeria. By the way, the CAC is the first registry in Africa, and by extension, Nigeria, to have launched the Beneficial Ownership register early in 2022. We set the pace for the whole of Africa. So we do have records of beneficial owners. In fact, I'm going to crave your indulgence if you will just bring out your smartphones and type BOR, B for boy, O for orange, R for rat, .cac.gov.ng. It's going to launch you onto the beneficial ownership registry kept and maintained by the Commission. Now, access to this platform, to this portal, is actually free. If you go there, you can check for the details of existing entities that have their beneficial owners already registered with us. Now, I heard the last speaker express some concern about companies in the extractive industry that got contracts and they didn't have the records of their beneficial owners up to date. We do have such companies. Like I did say, this was launched pursuant to the act which came into being in 2020. So the question is, what happens to companies that were registered before 2020? That is why we collaborate with other agencies, sector regulators, stakeholders, and the likes, banks, through CBN, to ensure that players within their sector come to update their records. If you are registering a new company today, compulsorily you must give us details of the beneficial owners. But the old companies, it is through collaboration, it is through advocacy. And our regulation says that whenever a company is filing annual returns, which by the way, company is supposed to do every year, we ask for them to update their beneficial ownership records. But we do know that companies don't file their annual returns up to date. Sometimes banks would open accounts for companies and maybe they haven't even updated their record. There's no mechanism really to compel existing companies that were birthed before the new act. There is no mechanism to ensure or to compel them that they file their beneficial ownership. So that's why we collaborate like this and we advocate. So if you go back to your smartphones very briefly, did we launch onto the website? bor.cac. Okay, so there are 3 ways you can access the beneficial owner of the company. I'm sure you see somewhere it says entity name. It says name of the person with significant control, by the way, is the same thing as beneficial owner. And then the third is the entity number. Now, if you have details as to any of these, you can use it to access it. We can try Dangote Aliko. We all know him. If you put Dangote Aliko, let me go with you so that so I believe we're all here. Are we here? I'd just like for us to try it. Anybody trying it with me? Okay, so you start typing, search name, search type. If you click on you see entity name, entity number, and PSC full name. Dangote Aliko, and then click on search. If you put Dangote Aliko, click on search. Search type, put the PSC name because you are using the name of somebody. Maybe someone else can try Otedola if you know his full name. Yes, you may. So if you put Aliko Dangote, PSC full name, and then click on the search. I don't know whether anybody's own is up. Okay, what did you see, sir? You see? So it's the information as per beneficial ownership. It's just, it's as simple as far as it is concerning the CAC. It's just on your phone, you can access it. So there's really no reason why companies should be giving contracts if they haven't updated their records. If you are not able to access the beneficial ownership record of any company, then it shows that that company has not updated the records. What you must do is to ask the company to go to CAC to update their records. It is really as simple as that. Now, if you have opened Dangote like I have, I see that he has 32 companies that he's a part of. He's a person with significant control, or he's a beneficial owner. And, you know, his name, and out of, he's related in 32 companies. Maybe as director in 32, but beneficial owner, maybe in terms of being a shareholder in 18. Oh, thank you. So you can actually click, just by knowing the person's name, you can actually access, and you can see that for the Dangote Nigeria Limited, the status is active. But for the Dangote Farms, is inactive. So anybody that wants to do business with Dangote Farms can actually say, you know what, you need to go back to CAC and do what you have to do to get that company to become active. It's on your fingertips. It's really that simple. bor.cac.gov.ng. It's just a click away. And you can use any of those three elements, those three. If you know the name of the company and you are sure that that is how it is registered on the CAC portal, you can use the name of the company. If you know the registration number of the company and you are cocksure that this is the registration number, you can use it, and it will give you details as to the persons with significant control. So this is what we're about in CAC, and we tell the public, we tell people everywhere we go, the information is free. Nobody paid. There is more data that is not available to the public. We give to sister agencies that do law enforcement, like NFIU. They have their own separate access that gives more robust details as to the beneficial owners. But the basic information you need is on your fingertip. And this is what CAC has done. And we encourage everyone. It is free. It is always open. It is accessible. Use it, and let's make transparency, corporate governance, and fight money laundering and proliferation of funds and all the likes together to make Nigeria great. Thank you very much for good listening.
Thank you very much for the presentation. However, on my computer, on my phone, I'm not able to get that page. What I get is Alba Linux text page. What you got is Alba Linux text page. Are you looking for your own? No, I was looking for bor.cac.h.
No, that's gov.ng.
That's gov.ng. Gov.ng.
Yeah, that's what I have.
UI.
Register.
Beneficial ownership register.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Madam Tosan, Ms. Tosan, thank you so much for the enlightenment. And like I said earlier, you don't come to HEDA's event and leave just like that. You must get something. And I'm sure everyone has gotten more than what they even imagined they would get here. So please. Yes, before then, I want everyone to put give a round of applause to HEDA Research Center. Thank you very much. And to CAC, yeah. No, we'll share that. We'll share the accolades. We'll share. All right, the second wants to ask a quick question.
Thank you very much, CAC, and I really want to commend CAC for taking the lead on the continent in working on beneficial ownership. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just impressed. So I want to ask, we've gone to, for instance, we have searched Aliko Dangote, and we have seen some active, some inactive. Now, if this person is, because we have done a publication and we have stated as of social dates, so if these persons go and update their information and then come back to counterclaim that no, we have always been active, how will CAC be able to establish, that so that we can also avoid due liability?
We expect that if you are claiming that a company is inactive, then you should also cite as at so and so date. Now it's automated. Our system is automated. If you file your annual returns to date, it's not manually done. Once it's up to date, it changes from inactive to active. So yes, it's ready because you're going to have there's an output. CAC is going to give you an output when you file your annual returns. So the records up to the time, in terms of minutes, is reflected on that document, and then it changes automatically from inactive to active.
We're supposed to go to the roundtable conversation, which will still go around. But since we already put the CAC already taking the clap and the accolades so we can continue with the questions. I think one of the things that is also very important that you also need to help us with is what now is the sanction for people who have refused to declare the beneficial owners of their companies. Just like you said, this was in 2022, but we can see that the ones for Dangote, the companies that are there to him are not even 2022 companies or 2020 companies. So it means it dated back. So many don't have any excuse of saying, oh, it just came into beneficial owners register, just came into being in 2022.
The regulation, the CAMA, the law and the regulation has very robust provision that penalizes infractions. In serious cases, it criminalizes false reporting, in which case somebody can go to jail. However, where a company does not file records up to date, all we do is fine, and it's on a daily basis. So for the companies that are owing, every day it just keeps adding up. But if you file and you give false reporting, then it criminalizes. But let me just underscore that there's also what we call discrepancy reporting, which maybe I should have highlighted. In other words, the reporting is wrong, but we have established that it was due to inadvertence. So there's some sort of discrepancy. There is an avenue for correcting discrepancy reporting. Even the public, if, for example, NITI, or maybe in wanting to give a contract to a company, the company gives you details as to who the beneficial owners are, and you check the CAC portal and you see that there's some sort of discord, there's no agreement, there's a way you can report it, and then we can now go back and check to see. It can even be something as simple as wrong spelling in the name, which can make all the difference. It can be the wrong address. So we have, we make a distinction. What I'm trying to say is that we make a distinction between false reporting and discrepancy reporting, which can be corrected. But false reporting, it is criminalized. Every other infraction is a daily fine.
Thank you so much, Iman. So please, a round of applause for Ms. Tosan. She's getting a bit over herself, all to herself. Thank you. Question?
Thank you so much. Excuse me. Yes, thank you. There is one thing I've also noticed consistently in terms of details of persons with significant control, and I would want to know what CSC is doing about that. Where if you apply to CSC for their detail, I've noticed many companies, the people with significant control, you tend to see their names, but then their contacts are needed, like their phone number, their email, that you see nil. And I would want to know, because that was this challenge to journalists who would want to go beyond just finding who has significant control in a company, but try to contact this person for his report, for reaction on the report he's working on, and with hope that CSC will be able to sense the details of these people are there, but you only find nil in their contact. Is there a law that empowers CSC to make that compulsory? What is really, can you explain what surrounds that?
Okay, last, yeah, after any more question.
Thank you. Just to build on what the chairman of HEDA raised. If you're talking about some of these that have been published as at when they published it, so the question is your staff, the integrity of your staff. Now looking at how far these companies can go to even get this update backdated, from the system. And these are things that people can go as far as doing. So, but is there a system in place that will really tell us the actual time they update their information?
Thank you. I want to thank the first gentleman for that question. About 2 weeks ago, I was at a training at CBN, and this same question came up because they were training compliance officers for MFBs, deposit money banks, IMTOs, and this question came up. Now, there are 2 reasons why CAC would not give you all the information we have. One, there are data protection laws that govern what we can disclose and what we cannot disclose. That's number one. When I was speaking earlier, I said this is information that is available to the general public. There is another level that certain government agencies like the EFCC, NFIU can access. I didn't share details as to that. You understand? It's classified. Now, the second reason is the CAC is not going to take responsibility, apart from the data protection laws, will not take responsibility to give you information that we cannot confirm. For example, we have records of maybe the telephone number and even NIN of beneficial owners. If you probe, Dangote's number is with CAC, but CAC is not going to give it to the public. CAC could share it with NFIU, but not with the general public. We will also not share the NIN of a citizen with the public because we didn't give that number. That number could have an error. The telephone number could have been bad. So we won't take responsibility to share something that it didn't originate from us. But trust TSA, if it is the company number, the registration number of the company, which we issued, we'll give it to you. But we won't give you number that NIMC issued. We won't give you BVN that bank issued. So also we will not give you telephone number that a mobile phone operator gave somebody, because the law does not allow us share certain information. We are not the originator. But on a higher realm, when it comes to AML, CFL, TFT, and we will share with sister agencies. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Now, the second question, bordering on the integrity of staff, and that's the beauty of automation. CAC, before the 2020 Act, we were doing a lot of things manually. You needed to come to the office to get things done. Now you can do it in your kitchen, in your bedroom, in your office. Once you do this, and there's a trail. You know, the beauty about automation is there's a trail. You can follow it. So the integrity of staff really does not come into play. There could be glitches in the system. There could be downtime that will require you to reach out through, emails, customer service lines, and all of that. But where the system is working seamlessly, there is no human intervention. It is actually automated. When it comes to giving wrong information, it would have originated from the giver. If you don't spell your name well, CAC will take that wrong name. Remember, I said we are a registry. So what you give us, we will take it. Now, when we are reviewing documents, there's somebody who's going to review, post the recording. He can catch discrepancy reporting and flag it. Because for everything we do, KYC will tell you upload a means of identification. So if we see that maybe there's a spelling error, we could flag it and query the application. But otherwise, if you give us a wrong name and give us an ID that supports that wrong name, CAC will take it. So it's on you. The onus is on the person, because we're just a registry. We are not law enforcement, and we don't go asking, like banks, if you want to open an account, they will come and check whether you live in this address that you have presented, because they'll tell you, bring bill, bring this, bring that. Somebody will come and check. CAC doesn't do that. Give us the name. If you give us wrong name, we'll take it, so long as you can give us a wrong ID that justifies. So I hope I've answered your question. Our system is automated. Everything we're doing, if you are registering a new company, if you are doing a post-registration application, everything is done online. So if there are errors, the bulk of the responsibility is on the person who has submitted the application.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. Okay, I also want to thank each and every one of us still seated in the hall. Thank you so much. We do not take you or your time for granted. That I promise you. Okay, so to go back to my announcements I made earlier, please, no one should leave with this tag. Once you are leaving, please drop the tag at the secretariat or on your table. Yes, please. Okay, so we want to move into the second leg of today's event, and that's the discussion between CSOs and the media. As CSOs, we understand the importance of the media in the work that we do. We cannot achieve more without the media. And that is one of the reasons why we usually every year have this conversation with the media. And the purpose is to remind ourselves of the importance of this relationship in the work we do, and to also elicit commitment from the part of the media and the CSOs to always be there for each other and support ourselves in this work that we do. On that note, I'd want to invite Dr. Tunde Akoni, who is going to moderate the conversation. Dr. Akoni is a lecturer at the Department of Mass Communication at the Lagos State University. Yeah, so please, you can have your seat here with this mic. So anyone that wants to speak will signify, and then I'll bring the mic to you.
Good afternoon to the entire house. Please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. First, I want to commend HEDA for being consistent.
Sorry, there are some members, there are some people who are not members of CSOs or the media. I would want to leave. So please, before we go into the second section, I have the group photograph. Yeah, so those that want to leave in between can. So we don't keep anyone waiting unnecessarily. So please, we'll have the group photograph just here. Mr. Suraj, Mr. Aribabu, all our special and invited guests, please. Okay, so please, what we'll do is those subsets. Okay. All right. So those that delivered goodwill messages or came out during the book presentation should join this first set of the group photograph.
Those that can find space. Find space and people.
Okay. Okay. Ismail, are we taking? Are you sure? Are you capturing everyone? Okay, so everyone can join. Please, everyone. Yes, please, everyone should come in. Find a space somewhere in between. Yeah. Yes. Mr. Azomta.
Stop protesting.
So you say.
Some of us are very tall. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, come. Sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Okay. So, they're taking ownership.
It's my pleasure to welcome colleagues from the industry. As I was saying, I want to commend HEDA for being consistent with the fight against corruption. You all agree with me that taking a dive to push against corruption might be suicidal, very dangerous plunge. But then, even HEDA and some other civil society groups that are involved in the fight against corruption cannot do the job alone. Often, they will always need the support of the media. So, fighting against corruption is always in the interest of everyone, whether we realize it or we don't, whether we appreciate the efforts of those who are taking the lead in the fight or not. It is in the interest of everyone. And so today, we'll be co-opting on behalf of HEDA, we'll be co-opting everyone to undertake a very thorough interrogation of the involvement of each of our sides. The truth is that those of us who remain in this room are either with the media or with the generalist civil society. Sometimes people want to aggregate, people want to appropriate the media to the civil society. It may not be too wrong because there are certain issues on which the media actually won't have any option than to just take a definite stand with the media. So today, it will be our turn as non-state actors to look at the different dimensions, the different levels at which we are involved in the fight against corruption. What exactly does the fight look for now? What was it in the past? What are the dangers? What are the likely benefits? What exactly should we concentrate more on? What are the questions that we must be asking? Indeed, it may not be out of place for us to also look at the possibility of interrogating corruption implied activities in each of our sectors. For instance, I wear two caps. I'm in journalism, one leg in journalism practice, and I'm also in the academia. In either of those two sectors, we cannot claim to be completely free from corruption. Indeed, recently, an anti-corruption group published a report with regards to the transparency in the higher education sector in the country. And a major observation from the report of that organization was that there is hardly any higher institution in this country that is ready to make public its accounts for public access. Some time ago, pension revision by media houses raised a lot of dust. It is not clear whether media organizations that deduct pension contributions from the salaries of workers do remit them to the appropriate authorities. Indeed, whether they do remit tax that they deduct from the salaries of employees. So today, I will be asking or allow individuals here to volunteer to tell us stories of their personal involvement with major incidents of corruption. Can I have volunteers? Let me start with the civil society. Who want to bear the cards? My personal story in relation to corruption. Who want to start from the civil society? And I hope our colleagues from the media will be very attentive, because it will make very interesting reading at the end of the day, to have some kind of synthesis of the varieties of narrations that may derive from the presentations of our colleagues here. So, Mr. Riba.
Thank you. My personal story, well, it's personal, but it's also official, both to my organization and to my family. I've had some not too pleasant experiences with both Ikeja Disco and Iko Disco. Ikeja Disco is where HEDA office is located. We've been having a running battle with Ikeja Disco to supply us with prepaid meter. They have refused that we cannot be given prepaid meter because we are on a special transformer, which was purchased by our landlord. And their only condition is that the landlord should dash out the transformer to them, then they can place us on the general transformer. And so we've been having crazy bills. Now our supply has been disconnected, and that's how that will be. But at the family level, first is that it's as if doing the right thing is penalized. So I've had this experience both at home and at my wife's place of business, where for some the meter packs up, but it packs up in a way that it continues to supply us with power while we are unable to pay. So as responsible citizens, we report to the approach. As a matter of fact, there was a particular that happened in our house that it took them over 3 months, and I wrote up to 5 letters until I went to Ijora before they then acted. At the moment they acted, they placed us on estimated billing. Well, needless to say that I suffered for 2 years, and I paid
through my nose to have the matter resolved, and we paid extra. So when it happened at my wife's workplace, at our workshop, we had a family debate. Should we report? You know? So we decided again to report. It took her 1 year. Unfortunately, during that 1 year, our generator was stolen. It took 1 year, for that matter to be resolved. And when it is resolved, we still end up paying more, at least for you to have that supply, because we all know that power supply, public power supply is still cheaper than running generator, unless if you are using a data pass magnet. Otherwise, if you are using it for business or any serious purpose. So my challenge is that it appears that we penalize being honest sometimes, not every citizen will come across government passes. It is through service delivery organizations like our power holding companies, police, the courts, the hospitals, that you experience, acts of corruption. So in my own case, it's as if one is being penalized for doing the right thing. So I mean, the debate is always then that if this should happen again, should we report? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Okay. I don't know.
Let's hear from old people.
Thank you. My name is Shino Dubeli. I consult with my experience is the general experience we all had, but I took a step further. Some years back, there was this recruitment exercise by the federal government, Ministry of, I think, Immigration. Yeah. It was a very disastrous experience because it was one exercise that led to the death of, at least from what we had in the news, over 20 people. And it was well publicized. People felt the thing was not well handled, this and that. And Nigerians being what we are, just a few months after that, everybody forgot about that and they went about their business. That there was an exercise that led to the death of 20 Nigerians. Thousands of people applied to get the job. But HEDA did not stop at that. HEDA went further at the end of that event. HEDA wrote a petition to EFCC. And on the basis of that, EFCC took those concerns to court. Now, where I'm going is, we all believe that one of the tools that we can use to advance the fight against corruption is whistleblowing. We believe that people should see things, and when they see it, they should talk. And that way, we can jointly fight corruption. If you see somebody stealing, if you see somebody collecting a bribe and this and that. But you see, there is a danger. The danger is that, one, not many people believe this fight against corruption. In my own case, I was asked by HEDA to represent HEDA in court because the lawyers, when they got to court, they said this petition was written by faceless people and we need to see them as a way of checking as a way of frustrating the petition. They said we have to come to court. Now, where I'm going is this. I took up the responsibility to go to court as a whistleblower to testify that I was in this country when 20 people applied, when 20 people died in the course of applying for a job. But you see, what I experienced was pressure both from home and everywhere. People felt You want to go to court to go and testify? What's your business? That's number one. At a point, people will ask you, what is your business fighting corruption? Because that is what it amounted to. My family told me, you want to go and stick out your neck, you will be killed. So, fighting corruption, as far as I'm concerned, has a lot of dangers. Right from home, people will discourage you. Don't stick out your neck. Nobody wants to stick out his neck. Everybody we want the country to be clean, but we are not willing to come out and volunteer this thing. So from that personal experience, we were in court. Even the lawyers in court came and said, come, you don't have to do this. Nigerians don't do this. You don't testify against people. The question I asked with that experience is, where do we go from there? How do we clean the society? If we are discouraged from sticking our neck, if we are discouraged from whistleblowing, how do we fight corruption? Thank you. Hello, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moderator. My name is Tunde Suleiman. I'm an editor with Security Monitor. But this is a personal experience for me. In 2010, I had cause to take a company I had consulted to court. The matter proceeded for about 4 months. The judge did a very good job. The proceedings happened very fast, and within 4 months, I got judgment. I was an independent case. So I got judgment. But I didn't get justice. So it became clear to me that judgment and justice are not the same thing. Because the court awarded, it was a debt recovery case, and the judge awarded that the judgment debtor should pay. So some weeks later, we went into execution, and then the court believes they went to take stuff from the debtor's office. When they were about to levy the execution, they invited me to come and identify what would likely be capable of paying my debt, which I did. And then the items were moved to, the matter I'm talking about happened at FCTI court. And then the items were removed from the debtor's office somewhere in HEDA link in Usetu, and was moved to Jabi Magistrate Court. And then now I'm not able to say categorically whether there was a connivance with my lawyer. I'm not able to say, but because lawyers are very interesting people, and I would not like to stick my neck out on that. But I suspect somehow. So what happened in this particular case is that after the property had been moved to the magistrate court, my lawyer informed me that he was going out of town, so and I should go to the registrar's office to find out the update. So when I go to the registrar's office, the registrar's staff, the secretary, informed me that okay, the matter had been assigned to a public auctioneer to auction the goods. So very quickly, because I was a consultant and I consulted, part of the consultancy included the procurement of some equipment, which I requisitioned. So basically, I just called the supplier, the vendor, okay, so this equipment that you supply to us, can you restock it, pick it up, and pay for it? And he said to me, okay, yeah, I can do that because but it will be at an administrative charge of 10% to restock it. So he was going to pay 10% less what we paid for while I was a consultant to the company. Same thing for so, and I was trying to be a honest guy. I was not interested in profiteering from the debtor. I just instructed him to take exactly what was going to pay my debt. The debt was 8.3 million naira in 2010. So they took just enough to pay that debt and then something to pay the lawyer's fee and basically can recover my costs and get my principal sum back. So surprisingly, on the appointed date when the auctioneer was supposed to turn up, which was a Friday or Thursday, the auctioneer, so somebody wanted to buy, so there was somebody who was going to buy everything at that point. A figure had been negotiated for just enough to pay for my debt. But the auctioneer never turned up. Throughout that day, the auctioneer was not at that court. And then when I went back, I think it was on a Thursday. So my lawyer never turned up also. When I went to we kept talking on the phone. I said, just go to the registrar's office. So I went to the registrar's office. They said, the auctioneer has sold the items, he has auctioned it. Come back on Monday to come and collect your check. So I went to the court on that Monday, and then the auctioneer gave me a check for 830,000. 10% of my debt sum. I was like, the items were worth 8.3. In fact, the items were worth like 8.7 million, something like that, or maybe 9.3. There was something enough to pay the percentage that the supplier was going to take, 10%. So, which means that that's 8.3 million plus 830 plus the lawyer's fee of 10%. So that is what that item was worth. But they said they got 830,000. They gave me a check. I called my lawyer. He said I should collect it. I should collect it. That when it comes back, we'll talk. Collected the check. I said, but what do we do? How do I get it? He said, oh no, they will go and levy another execution. When my lawyer came back, I was like, what happened? I didn't understand. That's why I'm not able to say categorically whether my lawyer was involved in that. But I have strong suspicion that he is involved. So, and so it turned out that I could not, in good conscience, authorize another execution to be levied, because it became clear to me that I myself and the judgment debtor had become victim of the court itself. So for many years, I agonized over that decision as to whether should I cause another execution, maybe knowing fully well that the man's goods may disappear into the wheelbarrow of the court's corruption system. So that corruption took place in the court registry. And till today, I had to just give up and I never went to go and pursue any of the money. That's my encounter with official corruption in the judiciary. Thank you very much.
We need to speak up and share with ourselves our personal experiences with corruption.
Thank you very much, Doctor. My name is Taufik Oyeni. I work with Media Trust Group, the owners of Daily Trust Newspaper, Trust TV, and Trust Radio. The personal experience I had was when I was working in the finance department of the organization here in Lagos. There are two instances. One was from a federal government agency who are subscriber to our newspaper. The annual fee then was to be 950 naira. But surprisingly, the agency paid 950,000 into our account. And later, they started making a phone call that, oh, they had overpaid us. I checked the account. I said, yes, it was true. You overpaid us. But send me a letter to that effect indicating the account number that we are going to pay. The guy who was contacting me started saying something else, and I made it known to him that no, this is our organization, is an ethical company. We will not do that. But surprisingly, one day I was in the office and he called again. He said, oh, as we wait for his DG. The DG, unfortunately, I will not mention him, is one of the so-called anti-corruption crusader. Then he called and after he made so many entries that they are going to send me an account number that we are going to pay the money, I told him no. He now said, okay, that the payment they made to us was not meant for our own organization, but to another organization. What I want to bring out is how some organizations make use of media houses to launder that money. They are doing it. I will not hide that one. So he now said, okay, that the money is meant for another media house. That's okay. He's going to send us the account number of that media house so that we should transfer the money to that account. I say, okay, I'm sorry. We will not do that. So that is third-party transaction. By the time our external auditor comes, we will not be able to defend it because that media house we said we should pay has never rendered any services to us. So there's no way we defend it. So at the end of the day, our management needs to get involved. I have to write officially to our head office in Abuja, and our directors have to get involved. Because the man refused to give us the agency account number where we are going to pay. But our directors had to use their own power to get the accounts and provide it for us to pay. That is for government agency. Later, about 2 years also after that, a privately owned multinational company also did the same thing. Millions of naira. Millions. These ones ran into hundreds of millions. They paid to our accounts. And when the money entered, though we used to do transaction with them, and when the money entered, we were baffled because we knew that what they were owing us was not up to about 1/10 of what was paid. Later, they started making phone calls that they made a mistake. We need to make a refund that they are going to send us account name. By that time, bank transactions has really improved. So when somebody pays you, you can see the accounts, part of the account number will reflect in your book. And that's what we use to hook them. Because we discovered, we said, okay, they should send us a written note. They said, no, there's no need for that. They're going to text the account number. You know, the moment they are running away from documenting the transaction, you know that something is fishy. I said, okay, send me the account number. When the account number came, I went to our system. I discovered that the account number was not the same. I called the guy back and said, I'm sorry. You need to give me the same account number through which you transfer that money to our account. It is the same account number we are going to refund the money to. We track this, and unfortunately also, I need to mention this, those that are informed, they are expatriates. And that's why when all these white people keep on saying Nigerians are corrupt, I used to laugh. The corruption in Nigeria is not up to 1/100 of what they are doing. They are white people, but the company is domiciled in Nigeria. We dragged the issue for many months. So at the end of the day, they grudgingly gave us the company's detail, and we make a refund. Though our company paid for it because they stopped dealing with us for some period of time, but we held our shoulder very high that we don't get involved in such kind of activities. So these are ways by which they also tried that they wanted to use another media house. But we know that in the moment, the most unfortunate thing is it was the same media house the two entities were referring us to, which is a clear case that
Those are the dealers.
those are the dealers. And also, maybe I should mention, when there was a time there was the media houses in Nigeria were involved in a dirty game during Jonathan. Maybe I just give a clue. The leader of that group was the. So let me end it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. There's somebody there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ibiyemi Olufowobi. I work with Dow Communications. I currently head radio. When we say physician, heal thyself, that's for the media to take another look at itself. This issue happened about, I think, just about 2 years ago. One of our reporters was sent to cover an event. She was taken to another beat that was not her normal beat. So she came to see me a few days later. Auntie, I have a problem. What is the problem? She said she suddenly saw about 7 million naira in her account. And she does not have 700,000 in her account. So how did the money get there? From the beach she went to cover. You know this issue of brown envelope? We're all media people. It's a thing of shame, but we have to talk about it. Apparently, her colleagues were the ones supposedly giving out welfare for the journalists who came to cover that event. And then they decided to use her account. She saw the money, she didn't know what it was for, and she called her bank. The bank was GTB. She opened the account, I think, on the island also. So they directed her to her. Immediately she told the bank puts a flag on her account, meaning that she could not take anything from that account. Unfortunately, that was the only account she even had money in. So we had to chip in something for her, at least to tide her over. The most annoying, and I'm looking for the right word to use. The colleagues called her and asked her that she got some money in her account, she should transfer it to them. So apparently what happened, just like my brother here was talking about, they used her account number to take money from the company and paid it into her account number, and they wanted her to transfer that money to another account. And unfortunately, the people involved, should I say were or are, senior journalists. Well, we told her not to do that because we don't know what could have happened. And we told her that if she should do anything, if there is any criminal issue, it's her account that will be traced. And since she's the owner of that account, she will be the one in trouble, not them. It got to the point that they started insulting her, threatening her. It took a while.
The senior colleagues.
Senior colleagues. Not in our own company, but in the same, senior media colleagues. At the end of the day,
we now advised her to go back door to that company where where they went to cover the event, get the account number, and send the money back into the that company's account. It was when she did that, they insulted her, but they finally left her alone.
Yeah. At this point, let me just make a brief intervention. For those of us in the media, not any less for our colleagues in the civil society, particularly those of us in the vanguard of the fight against corruption. We need to be mindful of the fact that in this issue of corruption, the banks are always supportive of corrupt activities. When they are supposed to be sensitive, they deliberately look in a different direction, as if, oh, well, you can excuse all of this. But when their attention is actually hardly needed, that's when they suddenly become hyperactive. And I had a nasty experience in their hand some years back, I think about 2014 or so. I needed to run a training program for a federal government agency, an international training program, which was to hold in Dubai. Of course, for that kind of work, I had to be paid in dollars. The money was paid into my account, my corporate account, of course, and it was time to access these funds. And I went to the bank personally to request the release of the money. And suddenly the bankers felt that they needed to pay, to be meticulous with the withdrawal of illegitimately earned money. And they started this funny, intensive interrogation. Well, it's not as if we don't want to release the money, but we need to know what the money is meant for. And, we know that money had always been coming into this account, but never as big as this. But if we can talk, there won't be any problem. So what kind of talk do you want us to do? Until I had to tell them that there's no problem. You can actually return the money to the source. Then I will go and engage with those who send me the money. Because this money is meant for a particular purpose. If, as my bankers, you will be the one to disrupt the process, there's no problem. I can go elsewhere, open another dumb account, and run my. But I had to ensure that I registered my sincere feeling with them. To the effect that, look, we are in this country together. There's hardly any day that we don't read stories of corruption in the papers. There's hardly any day that the broadcast media, the television, all of the radio, don't disperse stories of corruption. People in government moving money from wherever, they don't use any other agency other than the banks. So how come you don't pay attention to all of these big monies that they move? This money you are talking about is actually insignificant. I have to start mentioning names of corrupt officers who have been indicted. And I made sure I created a scene. I started, I spoke so loud in the banking hall So at that point, they now say, okay, this one, you don't reach this now, you don't reach like this. We are ready to release your money. And they did. So, except, we also need to know that we have to insist and make sure that we register certain strong points with them, making them realize that we know what we are doing and we are not ready to be on the side of corruption. So, as much as possible, we need to be on the right side of issues at all times. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I think that is very critical. The bank, I think it's almost everywhere in the world. The banks are almost like that, really. But the whole thing is the fact that Nigeria's case is about impunity now. It's gone beyond if care is not taking redemption, because they would fear in those other places, even though they will embark on some of those things. They know that once we are caught, there's going to be a challenge, and that's why you can see them being fined heavy, amounts of money either by the US SEC or by FBI, by whatever financial conduct authority in the UK. But in Nigeria, nobody does anything. It just comes and goes. Nigeria's case is as worse as that even companies that are not registered. So if you want to open an account, you and I, you bring the KPI, your house address, your NEPA bill, your passport photograph, your whatever. For organizations, the registration certificate, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. But we don't see with, and that's why it's important for the media. Please, if we don't get this done, government agencies can't fight corruption alone. That is even when they are sincere and committed. The ones that are not sincere and committed is just going to be shadow chasing. There's a report, one of the cases that EFCC was investigating and prosecuting. One of the companies, I think with Adi Sirika or one of the ministers, got money into a bank account for a company that was not even registered or does not even exist anywhere. The bank opened the account, the money went into I'm talking about hundreds of millions of naira, went into the account, the money was dissipated within 3 to 5 days. It was after that the company was registered. So even on the registration certificate, it was post the transaction that is there. I mean, by that bank should actually be paying heavy fine for that, and that should be the demands that we would be making of them. What Sulaiman mentioned earlier about the Keja and Eco distribution, I'm sure Kayode was shocked when he called me to come on the interview when the Air Force guys went to invade the Keja electricity distribution company office. And yes, even as a civil society person and human rights advocate, I told him outrightly, I'm going to find also justification for that action. Because for me, the first thing, yes, and I said, I'm happy, I don't care, I'll say it live on TV. And I did, because for me, the truth is, what we've been subjected to is the inhuman treatment of these monopolists that are just exploiting not just the people, but also the government. So these discos get grants, they get waivers, and at the same time, they deliberately create that situation that you will buy diesel and know what it costs to operate on diesel before they will come back and increase your tariff so that you just say it's even better. Let us go with this. Because when they started with this band A, it was the madness that started from the Keja GRA here. But the banditry, it started from here where they called premium service, whatever. And they started increased the service for Ikeja GRA here and gave them 20 to 22 hours of electricity in a day. From Ikeja here, then they moved to Magodo. I was about going to even sue them at that time. Then they moved to my own estate. The people in my estate brought it. So, and I saw it as a madness of, so all it takes is to derive the people of Shogule electricity that they are entitled to. give to GRE for higher premium and payment. So when they saw that they can succeed with it, then they started moving it around. What is said, because I remember in our old office, if forgot, we had the same experience where they said some of the neighbors didn't pay in the same compound and they disconnected the wire. We said, we give us prepaid meter or paid meter. They said, we're working on it. And they disconnected. For 3 months that they disconnected, they were still even sending us bill. They disconnected themselves. And when we said, okay, how do we reconcile? They said we must pay for those 3 months that were charged to us, even when you disconnected the wire. So how else can you be so callous to people? You know you were not providing us service. You disconnected and you said we must pay for that period. So we actually allowed them to disconnect for like, I think 5 years in our office and said, we are not going to take this. And for whatever it is. So they, on their own volition, they came and said, okay, we have seen that we disconnected, so we agreed to pay half. And that was on the ground. So we must start actually challenging. And that was why I said on TVC, as much as we discourage military intervention in civil matters, as long as we don't want our military officials running riots on this kind of a situation, but we must actually tell it to this discourse. The madness is too much. How do you allow the Air Force barracks to accumulate a bill of 3 billion if you are not also culpable? Why have you not metered them with prepaid meter that would make it difficult for them to accumulate? You and me, what he said, we had a bill of 56,000 in February. All right? About 56,000, which is that's about 90 something thousand in February for the 2 twin duplex. By January, we just saw a bill of 500 and something thousand. And we were like, oh, maybe there was a mistake, but this couldn't happen. And we sent people to the office. They said, oh, no, it's not. It wasn't a mistake. You have been moved to band A. No consultation, no discount. Can you imagine? Sorry? And deliberately, when the high consumers like this, they will never give you a meter because they don't, and they will just read it and say, this is what we supplied to the transformer or to your whatever, and they read it from their office. So it is that, and we need to start calling them out. So for us, if we're not calling them out and challenging them, this will continue. And this is the madness that is already going on. So I am using this to challenge because we are the only few people that can fight for the ordinary people out there. If this hotel tells you how much you will be paid, deliberately you can bet this hotel will not be supplied with prepaid meter.
They tell you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you that certain establishments cannot have the payment.
Because
we ask for the payment.
Yeah, they want to be the one to determine and fix
our engineers. We sent our engineers that we even want to know how you read this meter.
They would never explain it to you.
They told us that they don't need to come to the premises to reach the meter.
So this is really critical for us. And please let's take note and not just lament behind the scene. We need to start taking them seriously up. Part of the thing that somebody just told me that some of them, if you're not an engineer, you're not supposed to be registered by Corporate Affairs Commission as the chairman of any engineering company.
You are not supposed to own an engineering company.
So many of them are owners of, including even the former president, the owners or chairman of Ikeja Electric. We need to start also calling them out seriously. The other one, so this one is because deliberately I wanted to talk about the ones that touches people directly.
Yes.
I have had reasons to travel and come into this country, and we just make joke of it. It is not only sad; it is international embarrassment. The international airport is worse than motor park with solicitation of bribe and whatever. Across board, immigration, DSS, custom, NDLA. In fact, it is gone as bad, as terribly bad, as that I arrived at the Abuja airport and an immigration woman who was supposed to stamp my passport. Mr. Suraja, you're welcome. Thank God, my Christmas is done. I said it's not yet Christmas. And she said, then that I see you, I'm sure maybe I will not see you before Christmas again. I said, okay. So I just kept waiting. And then she started fiddling with the information. Yeah, I'm still waiting. I said, waiting for what? She said, you do Christmas for me. I said, and this is actually a woman, so I'm so sorry for. I give some excuses for men, and I consider them to be so shameless. But when I see women involved in it pains me, it angers me more. Because women should be treated with dignity and respect. I don't like it when they reduce themselves to that level. So I said, no, but madam, it's at the airport. And people, how do you imagine people seeing that you're giving, this doesn't happen anywhere in the world, it's only in Nigeria. Even in other airports, you offer that kind of thing, you get arrested. This is not that they ask, that you even try to give them. But here, you're soliciting, and she just said, this is that's why I said it's gone as bad as you want to imagine. And she just said, okay, I understand. Oh, I understand. So I thought it was okay, that she understood what I was saying, and she's been listening. And then the next thing, she was scribbling something. And then she stamped my passport. And then gave me a paper with a bank account number. Wow. So God who made me. And she said, this is my account number with my. I was so stupefied when I got it, and I shook my head. So right there in her presence, I started squeezing the paper. I just used the dustbin and walked away. So this is really, it's so painful sometimes, and I was just thinking, how do we get here? So that kind of person, if she doesn't care about whatever crime I am committing in the course of coming into Nigeria or whatever I carry. It's about what she wants to get. And that is how we have the insecurity situation, we have the drug situation, we have all these fake drugs and all the rest permeating our system. You saw when the EFCC arrested about 700 and something people. It wasn't a joke. These were criminals who are already arrested, prosecuted, and released in China, in Pakistan, and wherever.
Yes, they made it here.
And they made it here. They have about 1,500 telephone numbers that they were using, local, international phone SIM cards, and 2,500 local SIM cards that they used to do cybercrime 419. And they have Nigerians, all those Nigerian girls recruited, using those phones to call people and say, okay, this and the kind of calls that it's, because I've had, it was just now registering, because I've seen ladies calling me and saying, yes, sir, and you're a member of the WhatsApp group on the, we're having that meeting, please check. So, one of them, I said, oh, they've started recruiting ladies into this madness, and she quickly ended the call. Because I know it's always been guys who would call you and say, hey, oh, yes, you are part of this call. But when I saw ladies joining, so I saw those ladies arrested at the EFCC office. And this is how these guys, many of them, their visa in Nigeria, they came on visitors visa. Not only that, the visas had expired. And they continue staying in Nigeria. So if we want to salvage the country, it is going beyond just where we just talk about it and we laugh and we make it in beer parlor and we run. No, it is staring us in the face that we're already losing the country if care is not taken. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. And thank you so much, Elder, for creating this opportunity. I think if I must move from where the chairman actually stopped, I would say one of the biggest takeaways we will be having from here should be creating a coalition that will help us to actually address certain reform positions. If you take it, there are some levels that are so terribly gone down to. And let me begin with the immigration. You know, when the agencies themselves, the Controller General, the immediate past Controller General of Immigration, no, the penultimate one, is Nigeria, visited Lagos on 2 or 3 occasions. In fact, there was a particular day, he was coming and he was at the airport here. You know, he came in. Normally, when you are living wherever you are living, they will have sent the manifest to the immigration officer. This is the same person. Immediately became acting controller. He visited Ikoyi. And he pretended, you know, there was COVID at the time. He used nose mask. He pretended, and when you see him, he's just a small stature person like this. And the next thing he did was that he said he wanted to process his passport. His own officers, they didn't know him. They took him to one corner. And they said, which one? 10 years or 5 years or this or so. Do you have a birth certificate? Do you have a state of origin? If we are going to get it for you, this is how much you will pay. This is this. And the man called me. I said, Majid, I'm with your people here. He said, I can't believe this thing that you people have been saying is this. Now, they knew it was real. And it was in Alagbo. But I can tell you, they carry some of those guys. I was the first person that reported that matter that year. The next time, he was coming from abroad. He was at the airport. It was just like you are being, at least, get your passport, stamp it. An official of immigration, the Controller General was before you like this. He collected the passport. I said, will you please go there and stay somewhere? The man did like this. He said, yes, sir. He said, what do you bring for me? The man said, I don't get anything. Young boy, as of 11 a.m. in the morning. And fortunately, I was the one who called because I knew he was coming to town. And I said, you are coming. So he was coming from abroad and he will come from to Lagos. And I said, CG, what's happening? This and that. He said, I don't enter another one Majid today. He said, come and see what is happening here. So he pretended as if he didn't know. And the next thing that happened was that when the boy misbehaved very well, he said, call me the controller for international airport. He now looked. He said he was disappointed. You knew, you were supposed to have known that the manifest of the people in the plane that you have to check already with you. No matter what happens, it means that you never even knew that these are the kind of people you are going to see here. So if you had known that even the CG will be on the list, what were you expected to have done? To be careful. Unfortunately, at that time, around 10 or thereabouts, the controllers, the senior guys, they were not yet in the office. And that was why you monitored at that time, there was a kind of a massive change in deployment, about 90-something of them. So they knew that it happened. But some of these people are also helpless. How? They will tell you that somebody somewhere recommended them. Who is above them? Do they have the capacity? You are also enacting capacity. There is a limit to the level. You don't know who introduced Mr. Aribabu to Professor, and you just say because you are acting, you want to fire somebody. It becomes a problem. And the challenge is this: they are also afraid of the court. Sometimes when they sanction these people and they go to court, in one way or the other, they say the due process was not followed. Even if they have spent 3 years at home, they will be paid those 3 years. So these are the challenges that they have expressed. And I've seen it. There was one woman, Mrs. Adepoju, Caroline Adepoju or something, who was actually in charge of Alagbon at the time. She was the PCO. The Controller General himself said somebody should go to her. And the person, a top person who ordinarily can even give you whatever you want. Top person is a friend. And he went there and he saw the person. You know, they said, don't worry, I will bring the document. And they took the document. They said they have registered, they have sent it to the CG. The next thing was that, what happened? He was expecting. This woman deliberately sat on that thing. When even he did everything, you know, when the CG recommended that you should go and meet somebody, you don't expect the person should be giving you your
for photocopy or whatever. He believed this man will still call this person and say, how far? How is this your passport? You are the one handling it. Oh, the CG has not, until we now got across to the CG then. And the CG said, what happened? I sent one stinker. I said, I've never in my life seen an institution where subordinates are much more powerful than the superior. And when I sent the next thing the man said, he now sent it back to the woman in particular. Didn't know the name. He just forwarded my message. And she now started running from pillar to post. From pillar to post. He now called my person, please come now. And on that same day, the passport was ready. Now, this woman, when she was moved as a punishment, and that was why the man introduced the policy that when you see some people who have reached a particular status in immigration and you take them to PCO, they are looking for money for retirement. So they make it. So that was why they say, okay, we will try to see people who are of lower rank. Maybe they will also not be too ambitious to want to make more money. So all these challenges are there. And within their own system, until they have external forces, like the kind of the opportunities we have here, that can push from outside. Sometimes it is bigger than what they can. We have seen in terms of power. Last year, Prof, we had a session, my organization, A1, we had a session on the power crisis in our tertiary institutions and the health institutions. And I can tell you what is happening. Radisson Blow here, this Radisson, the other one, at a time, they increased this thing geometrically. What happened was that at a time they gave them 160 million. They were complaining. So they went to Marriott. Marriott got around 200 something million. They went to what's this one? This Sheraton got 250 something million. And they said there is no way it is not possible. The corruption in the power sector is higher. And the people who are there, and my guy is the spokesperson is the media advisor to the minister. The minister was supposed to be part of our conversation. You know, on the day that they were supposed to be part of our conversation, they were now pushing. Is this one that is coming? And she's trying to get her flight. And it is deliberate. Because they knew that certain things cannot be justified. They bring power to your house. You bought transformer. In my office now, we bought, it's a new building. They bought transformer. This same person normally there is a public transformer that they should have been able to pick, which is meant for about 3 houses. The man said, you can't get, they just told him, they said, this is your new building, no. You can't take lights there. You have to go and get transformer. Not knowing that they just threatened him. If he had spoken to them and said, how do we do it? The man thought they were so sincere, he went to buy transformer without telling them. Now, when they wanted to install the transformer, we waited for about 6 months. They said, who told him to go and buy transformer? Why are we not just joking with you? After he purchased the transformer, when they wanted to connect, they said they would come and commission. He bought poles without them. When they came, they told him that you cannot buy this pole. We are the ones to buy poles by ourselves. We will bring money to buy pole. So the ones that he bought, they didn't carry it. They have to go and bring their own. The day they came, they now gave a lot of conditions. You have to go and pay for inspection. You have to pay. And I said, can you be getting all these receipts? So personally, I'm appealing. It is very important. Chairman, whatever it's going to take, if HEDA is going to take that lead, there is a need for a kind of a common front to challenge the system. These people are also the beneficiary. The people you want to report to, they are the beneficiary. You could see what it took. A whole National Assembly, they will tell you that so. Because the people who actually hold this power system, they are part of the system. They are the ones who will call the president and say what is happening to this people. Because I cannot imagine, it is my meter. I will buy the wire, I will buy the transformer, and I'm paying to you. So you keep asking, they have one style that they use now. If they are giving you lights, you know what they will do? In my home, unlike if you are prepaid, yes, you are prepaid. Ordinarily, you should be able to go to anywhere to vend your stuff. They are now doing something now. They will create a kind of a vendor that is strictly for those meters. For my office, I cannot go and purchase elsewhere. There is, normally if I go to anyone, whether VT Pass or whatever, I can purchase. The charges will be maybe 100 naira for what? The one we are using in my office, that each and every one of us, we have our meters. But you can only go to one app. That app must have been created by one of them. So that app, if you are buying 50,000 naira, they will charge you about 1,250 naira. Yes, I have it here. It's on this app, it's on my system. So it is the only app that you can use. So these are things, and this is very important. We have shouted about the communication, the data, the whatever, but power is so essential. And if we don't take that matter of power very seriously, the people that you think will take it serious will not take it serious. They are making the money to pay all these things because they are part of the owners. So that is my own. I will employ HEDA, whether it's going to be civil society media collaboration, to actually create an opportunity to advance the kind of the conversations around it and take that agitation forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Majid. I want us to be scientific in our approach to, taking up these stories. We have identified certain sectors as being particularly problematic. Telecoms, banking, power, in fact, immigration. I have been a victim of the problematic situation with the immigration as well as the banking and the power sector too. And I'm going to share some of this. Now, the issue is, even before I go on with another narration, can we as reporters, as journalists, can we please try to do some mapping so that when this coalition that Majid has just suggested takes off, we can then agree and begin to take up some of these sectors, either collectively or we just share them amongst ourselves and see how we can get to give them as much visibility as we can muster. Because if we don't kill corruption like they say, it might kill us. It's killing us already. I live in the GRA here, and then, contrary to what FCCPC had announced and had made the public realize that the Unistar meters that are being in use those meters are actually programmable. They can be upgraded with certain softwares. Yeah. So the question of, now you are in band A, want you to acquire a new set of meters, is actually not logical. FCCPC maintains that the meters that are being in use, the Unistar meters, are actually upgradable. That all they need to do is just install certain softwares. But then they insist those meters must go. So my own meter was deactivated. And then the next thing they did on the 27th of December was to put me on direct connection. And when they put you on direct connection like that, the minimum, yes, the minimum that they might likely bill you is about 200,000. So when they were deactivating me, I told the guys, I said, look, this one that you are doing will be the last time that you will do it. I'm going to make sure that I muster all energies that is possible to fight you. That, you give out money to some editors. There is no editor in this country today. If he is not my contemporary, then he must be my junior. So the money, just know that all of the monies, tons of money that you are ready to spend, I'm going to waste those monies for you. So I did a petition, sent it to LASCOPA, sent it to FCCPC in Abuja, and sent a personal copy to Tunji Bello, who incidentally was my colleague in Concord. And thank God, Tunji Bello acknowledged the receipt of my petition. So FCCPC stepped in. Now, one of the problems that we have, which I want all colleagues from the media to note, is that LASCOPA is almost an ally in this evil campaign of IKEDC against the people. Lagos State Consumers Protection Agency, an agency that is supposed to be protective of the people. And why do I say this? I sent them a copy of the petition. Receipt was not acknowledged until I had to make personal contact with the guys there. And then they said, well, you see, it might not be possible for us to take any action immediately, but we want to assure you we are going to work on it. We have this monthly session that we convene for all those people who have problems with IKEDC. We will expect them to come here to our office, and then IKEDC people will come to address their issues. Do you share our petitions with them directly? These are people who you will write and will never respond to anything that you send into them. Anyway, the good thing was that FCCPC had responded to my petition and copied IKEDC. So at the end of the day, I still went, I attended their monthly session. When I got there, and the IKEDC, folks were still grandstanding that so when it was my turn to speak, I now asked LASCOPA, who are the people paying for the facilities that IKEDC is using to engage with the people? You mean LASCOPA is paying to finance AC and all of the energy and this space for IKEDC to come and still insult taxpayers? So we need to actually pick up issues in details. In my own case, FCCPC helped me to do a strong letter to them, and they also copied me, advising them to ensure that arbitrary billing, in my case, should not be done. So eventually, IKEDC people sent people to me to come and work out what my average. In fact, on my own, I had worked it out. But when they now brought their system and they had to rely on their data, it actually fell below what I had estimated for myself. But the point is that they are always lazy to do these things for everyone. Now, again, with regards to the introduction of the new meters are completely user-unfriendly. I don't know how many of us have those new meters at home. I have it now. You will need, like Bajit said, you will need to go online to a particular app to pay. After paying, they will send an OTP to you. That OTP is what you will now have to punch into your meter. And if it doesn't go in once or twice, well, you just have to keep trying. I don't know how our aged parents in the rural area they are going to get to cope with this. Technoliteracy. Is it a very common skill? Even many people in our generation are technology shy. There's a limit to the extent to which we can make use of digital technology. And things that are as basic as power. In the number of facilities, without power, you can't even have water. And yet these people are they have come to trivialize the well-being of citizens to this extent. So that's as regards power. With regards to immigration, there's something that they do, which many of us may probably not have noted. When you are applying for renewal or maybe fresh passport, when you get to the point of uploading documents, in some cases, you will succeed in uploading all of the documents, but at least one of them will not go until you get to their office. And then these guys are smart enough, they have set up shops.
Yes.
Not too, yes, not too far from their office. And they say, well, we want to help you. Are you so serious with this thing yet? We will take you to our folks. Those ones that okay, now you do this thing. I get computer now and I get phone. They will do it for you. And the minimum in most cases that these folks will charge you is 1,500. Even if just to punch on your telephone for you like this, it's 1,500. That's one. Number two, when you are done with the filling of the forms and you have paid, what I learned from a retired immigration officer is that they deliberately give you a far date for you to come and collect your part so that you can negotiate. But if you know people within the system and you go there and to tell them that, oh, I've completed the process, I've paid, I've done everything, they just ask you for your slip. You can collect your passport on that day. So these are issues that the media will help us to put in the public space to embarrass those who are in charge of these different official responsibilities. Yes, is it?
Please, sir, may I just say something?
Yes, please. Yes.
You see, we have talked a lot about all these issues, but we should be asking ourselves certain questions. Why? Because we all keep talking about government, but some of these things are perpetrated by individuals, ordinary human beings like you and I.
Yes.
So why would somebody that is supposed to be going through the pains I am going want to inflict further pains on me? Is a question that we should be asking. And there is also a need for the media to do more public enlightenment, to let people know what their rights are. I'll give you one example. I live in Yaba. We have 2 meters in my house, one for the main house, the other meter for utilities. Utilities being security light, pumping machine, and all that. Suddenly, last year, 1 meter migrated to band A. The other meter was then we're in band C. I live at Alagomeji. And then I will recharge the same amount, 10,000 on each meter. 1 meter will give me 154 units. The other meter will give me 44 units. That's the band A meter. It was more than killing. Yes. Because it was the utilities meter. We have an electric fence. Everything is on that. If we do not recharge that meter, we are leaving ourselves open. So we had no choice. I kept on calling. I got their number. I will call. I went visiting. I went to visit them personally. And they said they will get back to me. They will do this. To cut a long story short, I was on this issue for more than 3 months. And we were only able to resolve the issue because my husband knew a director with a co-electric who gave us a name of somebody to call. I spoke to the lady. The lady now gave me the name of someone to be related with. Even then, it was later that I got to know that when you have that kind of a problem, they said it's a glitch from their computers. They are actually supposed to refund me all the monies that I have been spending. We have a tenant in one of our properties, and that tenant works with he consults for Ikeja Electric. So he was the one that told me that, ma'am, you get all your monies back. All you just need to do is write, follow it up, you will get it. But that is me, one person. How many people know that you will not let these things just go lightly? And you see that last thing you said about immigration. My last child is in Canada. She needed to renew her passport for her work visa. And then suddenly she had a problem with name arrangements. Yeah. She's supposed to be able to make the correction online. Paid the money to get it corrected. For whatever reason, that online did not work. Kept on rejecting. Time was getting closer. I did everything. I pressed every button I knew how to press. Finally, it was one of our reporters that connected with the Ogapakapata of Nonin. And she also, because the date her friend was given, I think November last year. And she needed to get this thing done July or so last year. So it was the friend, it was my own colleague that now got in touch with their boss. And that one now gave her a number in Canada that she would need to go to their office, because since they couldn't get it done here, that she should just go to their office and get it done. My daughter said she was treated like royalty. Within 1 hour, she got her passport. Within 1 hour. So it's possible. Meanwhile, you see that issue of having to pay a desk. You know, she had already paid online. She still had to pay another $70 physically to get the name done. The question was, what of the money that she had already paid to government? Just as my brother here said, Otilo. But you see, a lot of things happening. And my own take is that we will continue to talk about our experiences and everything that is going on, and there will be nothing to resolve. The question is, why are they doing what they are doing? Is it a question of poor pay? Let's take a look at our own industry. You and I may not be going through that problem, but the truth of it is that the pay is poor. And when the pay is poor, when a man cannot feed his family, cannot provide for his family the way he ought to, then he will leave himself open to say, if something is coming from this end, if I can get myself compromised, if Ikeja Electric would give me 50,000, let me do a report. They will collect the 50,000 and will do a report favoring Ikeja Electric, even when we know that Ikeja Electric is not doing well. And that is what is happening. The truth will never come out.
Madam, let me say this. Let me raise our hope in it. The civil society groups working on anti-corruption, we are still coming to you. That is actually the very essential issue that I think we can get to focus with this collaboration that Najib was trying to suggest the other time. Now, if we have a united front of civil society groups and the media working together, we can also probably attract some good support so that we will have resources to work on anti-corruption stories. All these stories that FIJ has been doing over time, they are supported. So if we are this many in this room, must we continue to feel inferior to just one entity like FIJ? If we have a coalition, we are likely to do better. That is the issue. We can't afford to be pessimistic. The day we begin to feel pessimistic, then we have lost the battle. What do you say about people in HEDA? I don't know. Is this so soon? We'll be forgetting the experience that Siraj went through and the rest members of staff. It's never easy, but with persistence, with perseverance, with endurance, with strong will, and all that is necessary, I believe very strongly that we're going to cross the bridge. I started an anti-corruption campaign in LASU. I took it to the campus-based broadcaster. I used the training journals of the university to report, to interpret issues, and so on and so forth. Now, even if we have not gotten to the level of excavating buried corruption issues, the awareness is now there that at least this and this and this constitute corrupt practices within the society. So if we have this coalition, number one advantage is that there will be a commitment. Number two advantage is that we are not likely to be presumptive. Presumptive in the sense that we won't assume that we know everything. There will be, from time to time, some training that will enable us to identify veritable cases of corruption that are worth paying attention to. We will also be able to determine those corruption cases that are probably best handled by the broadcast media and those that may be better handled by the print. And we will also know those issues that are probably best advertised, whether in the names of the coalition or in the name of specific anti-corruption organization like HEDA. So, Izzy, let's hear you out.
I just wanted to share the thoughts, on the need that we shouldn't be given some kind of gratification for whatever reason it is, especially at the airport. I think there about 2013, I was going to Germany for my coaching course, football coaching course, and then at the airports, the first immigration person I met, the way he spoke, he collected my passport and, please, brother, anything you have, just give me. I don't want to look into your passport. Just give me something. And I had some loose dollars with me, so I gave him, I think, about $5. They were in a $1 bill, so I counted like 5. I gave to him. He was very happy, unknowing to me that the next guy was observing. And when that guy returned my passport to me without doing anything, I moved on. On getting to the next person, he was looking at me. In fact, it was my turn. He wasn't looking at the person in front of him. It was myself. So immediately I got there, he took my passport and he looked into my eye and said, "Yes, Oya Oya." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oya Oya, drop something for me. I said, I'm sorry, I don't have anything. And then he became more aggressive. I said, what do you mean? Then he started looking into my passport. He flipped through like 5, 10 times. I was getting embarrassed. The queue was getting longer. Then he stepped me aside. I thought it was a joke. The next thing he did was to take me inside the office. And on getting there, I saw one big fat belly man seated. I didn't mean to. So immediately the man took my passport and he started asking me questions. Where am I going to? I said, I'm going to Germany. What for? I'm going for a coaching course in football. He said, where is your NFA letter? I said, I beg your pardon, sir. He said, where is your NFA? I said, I don't have any dealings with NFA. So whatever letter, I said, where is your invitation letter? And God so kind, I had every other thing I used in the visa application. So I presented my invitation letter written in German. And he said, no, you go and bring the English version. I said, please, I didn't apply the visa from you. The people giving me the invite and the people giving me the visa sent it in their language. And they both understood what they wrote. So the guy insisted, no, you have to bring it. And I said, and at that point, I was getting agitated myself, but I needed to calm myself. So the next thing I told him, I said, please, if you know I am not flying, do not let the airline take my luggage down there. So let me retrieve my luggage. And then we can deal with whatever we have. So when I said that to him, he became more calm. Then he looked through again. I said, Amechi. That was 2013. These are the people giving Nigerian presidents problem. I think it was then Rotimi Amechi and Jonathan were having issues. Said, oh, these are the people, stubborn people, giving Nigerian president. I know you are stubborn as he is. He just threw all my passports before me. He said, please go. So at that point, I made up my mind. Never will I ever give any form of money to anybody at the airport, no matter the situation. No matter how calmly the person spoke or will speak to me, I will never give again. So, and I think it's not out of wickedness, but I think if we adopt such method, it will help in bringing some level of sanity. That's the thought I said.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. My name is Joseph. I write for the Guardian newspapers. Actually, it's been very fascinating listening to conversations and also revelation, some of the things that I've been seeing. And I also noticed that some of us are outraged by some of these things happening in our country. I'm surprised somehow. My surprise is that I think we should all know that for every facet of our society, it's not just these ones we are just mentioned. I don't think there's any institution that is immune for corruption. It's deep-rooted. And so I'm looking at us making interventions because I am focusing on government at all levels. For me, that's where we should concentrate on. The government at all levels. One thing I learned in the course of my job is that deterrent for crime is always about being found out or being discovered or being captured. That's what deters a crime. But today, what do we have? People are not afraid to commit crime because they know that nothing will happen. I remember those days way back. Customs, the CG of customs, because there was evidence of corruption against him. A colleague in a magazine at that time showed it to him. He invited the correspondent together with the editor. Just to avoid his name in print, he gave them 2 containers, one each. you take this one. What? Because he does not want his name. The reason is because he was afraid he might lose his office. But today, who cares? So it's not like the media is not reporting corruption. The problem is that the people who are reporting will even tell you no problem, you can report. We have series of encounters. Managing directors, big people, CEOs. You confront them with the corruption, they will tell you, hey, my brother, just relax, no trouble yourself. If you want to report, all right, go ahead. Because what? From the top, they have protection. From the top. Just recently, this last December, I had an encounter. There was a young boy who scammed my brother-in-law on this job offer stuff. Oh, there is a vacancy, a slot, is a fill-up. Want you to send money, we'll give you the job. And the guy gave him the money. And he disappeared. Every effort to get him or get employment letter, no way. So this, just towards December period of last year, and I read that my own local government chairman had appointed that young boy chief of staff. I say, what? This same boy that ran away all this time, we've been looking for him. I say, he has entered into trouble. He is my own local government. So I got the number of the local government chairman. I called him. I said, look, you have appointed a criminal chief of staff. I said, what? I said, yes. That boy is a scammer. He's a criminal. He said, okay. You know what? I want to see you face to face. Come over, let's see. I said, okay. During the December period, I went to, and I secured an appointment with him. As I sat with him, he called the boy. Said, come to my house. Even when I narrated the incident to him, I was expecting him to be outraged about the involvement of the young chap and things like that. Even the media, he was so calm and relaxed. You know, the guy came and said, please recount what he has said in his presence. And I repeated everything, saying, you, this guy, for the past 3 years, you've been running away after you scammed my brother-in-law and collected money from him. He didn't deny it. He agreed. And I was still watching the chairman. Chairman said, okay, maybe he had misfortune trying to secure the job. These things usually happen. When are you going to pay him back? Please, you pay him back. I was disappointed. So then somebody whispered to me that the chairman himself did 419 before. Before, what they do is that they do these things, they now venture into politics. Because that's always the area they want to come and pack enough money. So our leadership is the issue. Self-interest. It's not about picking out on different sectors. No. It's about leadership. If we get leadership right, somebody who is averse to corruption, at least even if we know we can't get a cent, that one is sure. But if your reaction alone, when you hear that somebody has committed a crime, somebody you can superintend over, somebody you have appointed, you can say, oh, I get out from the office. Once across all sectors, all the appointees, all political leaders know that the leadership, once he hears anything about corruption, you are losing the seat. Everybody will sit up. Things will change across board. But it's because the man in AKDC knows that if you ride from here till tomorrow, the regulator, what do you call them? National Electricity Regulator Commission, we do nothing.
No, it's not like that, sir.
I can tell you.
No, you can't. We cannot afford to be absolutely pessimistic. You know, I fought my own cause.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yes. There are I give it to you. There are level of pessimism we can talk about, but it's not across. I cannot say that we won't get results. Okay, but what I'm saying,
that's why you cannot afford to be complacent. And as a journalist, I expect that you will do more of inspiring people. Look, there are several bad people in society. Job Baron got elected into the National Assembly. But the good thing at the end of the day was that, his case resurfaced again. And he was tried, he was arraigned. When he fell ill, they took him to hospital. He died there. We cannot afford to be complacent. There are bad people everywhere, but that does not mean that, well, are you a bad man? I am not. So in each of our respective
I
corners.
understand you, sir. I'm going somewhere. I'm running off. Where you're heading to. It's not like I was just laying the foundation. It's not like no. I'm concluding. I'm concluding because I've laid this enough. I was not saying that we will not do our job or that we will not call out the evil ones. That's not what I was saying. But the point I was trying to make is that I want, even if we're having a coalition or whatever, that will focus on leadership. At least, especially across board. I'm not just talking about particular thing. So that those ones, if we can get out those areas right, let me just give us one simple example of what I also feel towards this corruption that we're talking about. In this country now, across all states, I don't think there's any state where you can pay rent monthly. These things put pressure on people. You are a civil servant, your salary comes every month.
Mr. Joseph, we will appreciate that you give this forthcoming coalition all of the support that you can muster. We will expect people to turn in memos from time to time, and I can assure you that we will make good success of all such submissions. We have to start from somewhere. Leadership, I won't hesitate to agree with you. There's a major problem. But we can't focus alone on leadership. Look, the federal government earnings from the from the federal allocation, earnings from federal allocation now have gone up. Far up, tripled actually. There are some governors that are working. We're not saying that things are not going wrong there, but some are still carrying on as if, well, it's the same. It's business as usual, it's the same amount that we have always seen that we are still receiving. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? So, what we need to do is, as a collective, formulate effective strategies with which we can renew our campaign. If this campaign has always gone on, but we are saying, let's do some re-engineering so that we can re-strategize and probably refocus. That is the thing. We can't afford to be complacent. We really appreciate your contribution. Yes. A round of applause. This person hasn't spoken before. Yes, he hasn't spoken before, please. And after him, we are taking just one.
Thank you so much. I must appreciate HEDA once again. And I really like the conversation going on. I don't have all the time to give account of my own experience.
Please, you have 1 minute to.
Yes, sir. What I want to say is the coalition we're proposing, one thing we must all admit is corruption is all around, both in leadership and beyond leadership, even in the media that we're talking about. And to me, I believe when this coalition starts, part of what will make us make a positive progress is reorientation of media leaders, editors, media owners, because there is a problem there that probably some persons don't understand. When, if I as a reporter brings an issue that should be given a critical attention, and then you are confronted with conflict of interest. Either the editor in charge, whom you are working under, has connection with the person affected, or the media owner has connection with the person affected. You look at it and all your own efforts ends at their table. And everything you are doing to bring the corrupt person to justice fall out. This is not to express pessimism, but I'm talking of what we would do so that we'll be able to surmount that particular challenge. I've experienced it severally, and I believe with collective efforts or with civil society organization, we'll be able to tackle this. And the fight against the corruption we are talking about, in all ramification, we'll be able to make a positive yield. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to quickly have something to disabuse the mind of people, especially, and also to encourage people actually to embrace this initiative and to do stuff about it. What the other gentleman said, yeah, it might be relevant in some situations because of private and fraudsters, but when it is people that are in public, especially like police, immigration, customs, and all of that, usually they are afraid. So if they say things like, go to wherever, it's just a bluff. Most of the time, they are just bluffing to see how far you're going to go. Once they see that you are really, really serious, and you will likely expose them, they will likely relent and do the right thing. This has happened to me before. An SSS officer attempted to chop my iPhone. I imported an iPhone from the US. I bought it from Apple pre-sale. So naturally, my friend bought it. It was delivered to my friend in the US, and he sent it to me through FedEx. And then all the tracking, everything went well until he arrived in Nigeria. Immediately he arrived in Nigeria, the tracking went cold. Almost 5-6 days, no notification, nothing. So eventually I contacted FedEx, and then FedEx, eventually they said they had a problem in customs or anything. Later, after contacting them, they called me back. They say it's SS something to do. Okay, I called the SS officer. So what's the problem? He said they want to know that there are some foreign organizations. They send electronic devices to Nigerians to monitor and report on the country. They want to see me. Okay, fine. So I went there. I went with one of my editors. I went with the cameraman. I went with another correspondent. Four of us went to that place. So he had already told me, what do you have to give SSS officer? I said, what do I need to give SSS? I just want to collect my phone. So I already knew he was trying to stop me. So I went to reporters. So where I was standing, calling him and telling him to describe himself, I've already sent the cameraman. The cameraman had gone there. Yeah, if I was standing next to the SS officer who was talking to us, and then another man was standing up with him, and then myself and the editor approached him. So immediately I got to him, I brought out my ID card. I showed it to him. I said, I'm impressed. Okay. So in fact, as he was describing, the cameraman was telling him, he was now talking that, Mr. Suleiman, come, this is him here. So he saw that we had already even tracked him before he even knew we're there. So I told him, I'm a reporter. I'm a journalist. So tell me that thing you told me. Tell me now. And then the cameraman had the camera on. I could see him visibly shaking. So he went inside to tell his boss that he kept saying was the one that I needed to see. He said the boss doesn't need to see me again. They just brought my phone, they brought the package out there, and then we collected our thing and we left. So in reality, once it's a public officer or some other people like that, exposure is a threat to them. So nobody should be afraid of that. If they say go and expose, it's just a block. Most of the time, it's because they are not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suleiman. So on the final note, by way of summary and conclusion, I would want to note that everyone here can identify strands of corruption in the society across different sectors. If we have this capacity as journalists, as civil society activists, then saying something means we must be ready to say something. And now we have an opportunity to work together. We are looking forward to HEDA providing a suitable platform for us to work together as a collective, so that from time to time we can get to collectivize to prosecute well choreographed, well formulated campaigns against corruption activities. From time to time, all of us fall victim of corruption. So why is it that we will not make up our mind against it? It's a question of either resigning to corruption or making up our mind to fight it. And I want to believe that all of us will be ready to liberate ourselves from the shackles of corruption. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Dr. Thank you very much for being the moderator of this very interesting session. I want to thank everybody. We have come to the close of this program. I would like to thank the team that put this together at HEDA, and also our researchers and all those who have contributed to making today and this exercise successful. Just three quick things as takeaway. One is that all our resources, all our publications at HEDA, they are open resources. They are available for your use. And we do not have any restrictions other than that we are duly acknowledged. So please take that. Second is that we are counting on everyone here, both from the academia, from the media, to please engage this publication from different angles. We are hoping that people will do pictures on this. We are hoping that academics will take this, Dr. Connie is outside, will take this to their students and use as case studies, let's generate conversation, around some of these things that we bring to the fore. It's very important. Lastly, investigative journalism is part of the tool of keeping society in check. Because media people are here, recently, okay, so I'm hoping that somebody can look into this. For people using a good discourse. My mom had issue with them recently at one of the offices, Sonia. It's really, I don't know, she's really, okay, she had prepaid meter, it got bad. She was paying 1,000 every month, every day, as a token. Then the meter got bad, they put her on prepare, on estimated billing. So in February, they brought January bill, and it was 58,000. And she paid. Then in that same February, she had paid for meter 147,000. So in that same February, they now brought her meter and installed it. And she had about credit for about 3 days or so. When she wanted to reload, she couldn't. Then March is still early. So a week ago in March, they brought another bill of 158,000 or 151,000 or thereabout for her to pay. And then she went to their office and then she met other people. So this is why I'm reporting this. I'm hoping someone can follow up on it. She met other people there and realized that her own problem was small. Yes, other people, even from my neighbor, people they gave 300, 400. She now has prepaid meter, but they told her you can't get it, you must pay this money. Everybody is paying. So she had also resolved to, okay, if this is what will bring peace, because she has not had light for 2 weeks, that she will pay. Fortunately, she told me before paying, I stopped her from paying. I took it up with some of their bosses. Her matter was resolved. So my mom don't have that problem anymore. There are many other people's moms and dads still have that problem. And they are saying that the people must pay. And some are paying out of helplessness. So please, these are things that the media, if you just, even just a matter of going to some of these discourse offices and listen to the kind of complaints that people come with, is enough to help us to see that there is a lot of problem. Not all of it has to do with government. We are also exploiting ourselves. So we hope that the media can help to interrogate so many of these issues. Once again, I want to thank you on behalf of the board and management and all staff of HEDA Resource Center. We particularly like to thank the media. You know, every year we try to bring media gatekeepers together. Beyond inviting media for our programs, looking for reportage, we want to have this kind of judge, or want to have this kind of rapport. And so we've been doing this for quite a number of years now. We hope to be doing it for longer. We would like to build a partnership much better, especially across all of our programs. So I want to thank you for honoring us, and we hope that the good relationship between us will continue. So on behalf of every one of us, the chair, Larry Suraju, the board, all the staff who put this together, we want to say a big thank you. So can you please give yourselves a big round of applause? Seriously, I saw some tables and I see all the people around there, they are fasting. And I'm seeing sweets losing their content and it's only wrapped. I don't know, maybe, well, we will interrogate. Please drop your time. Please do not leave with our time. Please, thank you.
Vamos lá, pô, mais vezes.